This episode of An Unexpected Podcast is brought to you by Ephraim Menchaca. Thank you.
Hello, friends, and welcome to An Unexpected Podcast. I'm Ez.
And I'm Lane.
And we're talking Tolkien.
We're coming to you from the Shire of America, the beautiful state of Ohio, in a little village called Amanda.
This week we are covering the Council of Elrond. This is actually part 2 of the Council of Elrond. Last week, we kind of stopped right before right before Gandalf was telling his story, I think, right?
Yeah.
And so we're diving right back in there this week. And
Chapter's so nice, we had to talk about it twice.
Hey.
Right?
Oh, there he is.
There's just so much that happens.
Oh,
here.
there you are, Lane.
So much. I'm back, guys.
I see
I'm
you.
back.
Oh,
I'm back.
We got a little tired last week at the end of the episode.
If I can just be totally transparent with you guys, which I think we're way beyond that point, aren't we? Mm-hmm. We're way beyond that. A wall of black darkness of fatigue hit me in like right as we were going on to that last week's episode, and I couldn't. Ezra strapped me on his back once again and took me with him because I just couldn't.
Dude, I
don't know, man. I think it was just the week leading up to recording that episode had been a long one. I was fired up. I almost spent all my energy a little too early.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a whole lot left. So I did my best, but that's all one can ask, right?
Well,
there's a lot of history too, and I don't always get turned on, but I'm trying to.
Good point.
I'm learning to get turned on to the history and some of the the telling of all these ancient tales with, I think you guys can agree, crazy names and confusing places and everything, but I'm usually more fired up about the episodes where there's a lot of we're in the moment. There's character development with the characters right in front of us.
Yeah.
But,
dude, I was doing a little more like digging last night on my phone when we ended the episode, and you have characters who are renamed, swords and weapons that are renamed, cities that are renamed, and so they went by one name and then they're renamed again.
Right.
And we're going to dive into that in our Hobbit's Guide on Patreon. Yeah. But it is a lot,
and it's a lot of that stuff that you pick up from the films, right? And you've read through in the books, obviously, but it's all thrown to you within 3 or 4 pages.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my gosh, to break it down, to talk about it, I just get a little overwhelmed
Dude,
sometimes.
You know what I think happened to you like last night? It was sort of like what happened to Gloin and his people, man.
Oh, absolutely.
Like this darkness that just sort of
and I felt like, what decision do I make?
Yeah.
What path do I take? My brothers over there across the table in Ezraland.
Yeah.
What are they doing?
What are they doing?
My uppers, brothers and sisters that are out in the world, what are they thinking? Are they cut off?
Yeah.
Are they cut off from the light? Or have they turned to the darkness of Sauron? Once again, this book just parallels what's going on. It's a wild thing, man.
All right. Well, hey, quick counsel. Basically for us today, we've been together since, we recorded the last episode.
Yeah.
I know it was a week for you guys, but we had to record a little early.
That's right.
And so we were going to record last night.
We had the ambition of doing 3 chapters or 3 episodes, I guess, right back to back to back. And man, we just realized less than 12 hours. And we were like, that's just not really even feasible. And then we were talking too, we're like, we want to give you guys our best.
Right.
And I don't know if like after hour 6 that we would be really at our best to talk about what's going on in a chapter. And then I don't know that we would truly enjoy that. You know what I mean?
No,
that's a long time. So we decided to do the one last night, part 1 of the council, and then the following day today do part 2. So
well, we got a chance in since we were together, we got to go see your sister, spend some time with Winnie, Darrell. Shout out to him.
Yep, you guys played a little Fortnite.
I almost didn't, guys.
He almost didn't get here, guys.
I was playing Fortnite for a while. I almost didn't. I was like, you're gonna have to run this Fortnite without me
for a fortnight.
Yeah, it's like, oh,
that was good. Like that's something too. Like, and I felt kind of weird this morning. I don't know if I was just tired or sick, or I was not myself though.
Yeah, you weren't. I felt bad. So.
And no, but it was sometimes that just those things just kind of hit you, right? And it's not because of any one thing. It's just we have swings like everybody else, so. But it was nice to just spend. And I also like sometimes we're always podcasting. I like just spending time with you.
Same.
You know, just hanging out, eating dinner. Or
I like spending time with me too.
Playing with Winnie. You're a fun person to spend time with. A lot of people do.
Yeah.
If I can be frank.
Yes, you can be.
So as long as you can still be Ezra.
I'll be Ezra.
You can call me Dad.
Okay, Dad.
Frank.
Yeah, right. That's funny. My dad's name is Frank, so that's funny.
Right.
Sorry, I just got
that was the joke.
There it is. Okay. Some other quick updates in our quick council here. The BBWT, hashtag BBWT, Billy Boyd World Tour is underway, and we are sending, I think the first place we're going to send Billy is international. A little surprised. Don't want to say anything other than that. It's going international, and then it will come back to us, and then we will send it on to someone else.
Yeah, so, it's very exciting.
But we're excited for that. So also become an elf today. Go on over there, sign up, join our patreon.com/UpTalkinToken, and you can grab a T-shirt, and we'll send you a swag bag. Plus, we've got some histories of Middle Earth coming up that we want to check out. So that we want you guys to hear and enjoy. So.
And we just recorded appendices last night as well. So there's a new one coming, and
we did.
Yep, lots of stuff on the old Patreon for you.
Yeah. Now into Droppin' Eaves, my friend.
Yeah, so obviously, we're recording this in the past, so maybe something is broken in the meantime that we've talked, but that article from Jennifer Salk, I think, or that interview with her was really, really enlightening in terms of the Amazon TV show, learning that, hey, even though we've known for a while that Amazon has acquired the rights, that they've just recently closed this deal. So while they have probably a lot of stuff lined up, they maybe haven't been able to say anything about it and reveal that kind of stuff. So, and a lot of times pre-production's like that anyway. We always want to hear all these, bits of news and everything, and they always end up having to be rumors, or most of the time end up being rumors anyway that get changed. Yeah. Which leads me to my next point. We had Kat Delby, who's an upper that has recently joined our fellowship, and she was doing some spying for us. Sent us some messages about. I was really excited about this one, as she sent this to us on Instagram, and I was like, oh my gosh, that would be amazing. She had seen a retweet that Lin-Manuel Miranda was confirmed for Lord of the Rings. And at first glance, I was like, oh, this is great. I'm going to look into it. I started seeing if there were some, articles. I figured he's a pretty high-profile guy. There's got to be some news articles about this big-time show, and him being on there, and nothing. Nothing. I was like, wow, maybe this is just really exclusive to that one source, okay, which was theonering.net.
Right.
So I go and scour their website and look on there, nothing. So they retweeted a Lin-Manuel Miranda tweet because he mentioned lembas bread.
So I'm done.
and they framed it with, welcome, confirmed for the Aragorn TV show, Amazon TV show, Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Let me ask you a question.
I'm like, all right, well, yeah, ask me.
Is there not like a responsibility? Do they not have?
I was just about to get into that. I love a good joke as much as anyone.
Come on, me too.
I love playing around. But guys, this is getting kind of serious here, all right? This is the Amazon TV show. We're all waiting with bated breath to see what's going to happen with this TV show. We have a lot of hope.
Yeah, I'll just say it. Our uppers don't like being toyed with like that.
No.
This is an unexpected podcast.
Right.
And we're here to stay, man.
Yeah.
We're
expected. We expect certain things in the Unexpected podcast. Yeah. Okay?
You're only going to get the truth here, okay? All right? I'm not going to.
So, anyway, thank you so much, Kat, for sharing that. We really appreciate you thinking about us and having your eyes out, and all you guys that have shared stuff about rumors about the show and everything. I was really excited about that, because I thought, like, hold on a second, is he going to act, or is he going to do the music, or is he going to do both? Because I have not. I'm Johnny come lately to the bus. I haven't seen Hamilton or anything. I haven't listened to the soundtrack. Okay. But I can't get through Moana because I'm like brought to tears every single time I watch it.
Yeah.
And a huge part of that is because of the music. Yeah. And he was involved heavily in not just writing of the songs, but composition. He's an amazing composer too. And I thought, hold on, dude. If he was composing the television show's score, I mean, he could get Howard Shore-esque and take it to another level that we've never had before, and just a different perspective. And so I was kind of, when I heard that was just a little joke, I was sort of deflated and disappointed. So again, thank you for that little nugget, Kat.
Well, just so everyone knows, leave it to Ez here. I'm going to reach out to the One Ring whatever.
File a grievance.
Okay. And I will have words with them on our behalf, all of our behalves. Okay.
See, and it's really sad to me because, like, when the movies were coming out and everything way back in early 2000s, I remember being a little 7th, 8th, 9th grader, getting on the onering.net and check, and like daily. I actually still, as to this day, will sometimes type in the onering.net without realizing, like when I'm bored. Yeah. I'll type it in and be like, whoa, I didn't even realize it was muscle memory typing in that website.
Yeah.
And so I get it. They're trying to make news where there is no news and be funny, but it's disappointing. That's all. So no other news other than that. We're going to be getting more announcements here. I think once now that this deal is confirmed and closed and all that, we're going to get more announcements. It'll probably come pretty quickly.
Yep.
And again, nothing on the Tolkien biopic. No release date yet. Ez and I are still waiting patiently, and we can't wait to see that. That's going to be an amazing journey into the man who created this world that we love so much.
That's right.
So we do have some other corners of Middle Earth to get into. So some of your amazing contributions to our Facebook spaces. Spaces.
And we did this last week. We thought the discussion on the group was really good, and so it kind of relates to this chapter, and we thought we would take it and talk about it. So a couple of different things here that don't actually relate to the chapter, but are kind of funny, but they're from the group. We've got... someone mentioned a metal band.
Yeah, Sawyer Wickersham.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like a Middle-earth inspired metal band.
Yeah.
And put a link down there. So I thought that was pretty neat.
And
so
I don't listen. And apparently there's a huge genre of this. There are a lot of metal bands that are big-time Tolkien fans that work that into their music.
Yeah.
Which I'm not huge into metal or whatever, but I would... Absolutely. I love all music, so it'd be cool to get into some of those bands that everyone was talking about and sharing. And also, Led Zeppelin, huge Tolkien fans. And I actually, played a couple songs for Ezra last night, and he wasn't really down with the sickness. So
no, I wasn't. Sorry.
So you guys know who to email about, if you want to rip him for not being a Led Zeppelin fan. But anyway.
Oh, man. All right, what else we got?
We got Calais coming in. He wrote a little piece. Amazing upper, love him. He's always so creative. Some of his locations I'm gonna butcher. I'm just gonna say up front, it looks like Elvish to me.
Okay.
So in a house on the hill there lives a man, but this isn't just any hill. It is the best hill in all of Stavnastitan.
Great.
Yes, thank you. It's terrible. The house is made of wood and painted in a beautiful red color. When he travels amongst queer folk, he often uses the name Mr. Overhill. The house is just by the open sea, and he often sits there looking out into the horizon, wondering what is out there. He has heard of a place far, far away and often thinks, I should go there on an adventure sometime. Just a short walk from the house, there is a wonderful lake where he goes for a refreshing swim, even in the winter, as long as the ice isn't too thick, often followed by a heartwarming sauna. Oh,
wow.
Yeah. It's difficult to think of something nicer than a sauna, sitting there listening to the burning fire. In the evening, the deer come to visit and eat all his crops. Even if he gets a little angry, in the end, he thinks, well, that's just the way of things. The blackbird has been visiting for many years, going around the yard, picking food from the ground. This year, they managed to get some offspring that have been following around, learning from mom and dad. There is much more to tell, but now it is time for a cup of tea with a very old friend. Calais, dude...
So cool.
I love it. Now, I'm guessing this is you, right? This is Tolkien speaking through you. I don't know if you're possessed for a minute by the spirit of Tolkien and you're writing about yourself, but man, I tell you what, your corner of Middle Earth sounds like a beautiful place.
Yeah.
Think maybe we need to come visit you and have a dip in the frozen water. Ezra loves the cold.
I love the cold.
I love a refreshing, dunk in some ice water and then hit the sauna up with you, man. I mean, if it's an invitation, we accept.
Yes.
We'll see you soon, kind of a thing, okay? So thank you for sharing that. It was beautiful. Loved it.
So awesome.
Fun to read, too.
Yeah. Now, just a couple quick ones here. Erin actually says, can I just say, I love this group? And I think we'd like to say back to her,
yes.
Yeah, you can say that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no
Can
problem.
we say, we love uppers?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we can.
We love this group, too. It's it's just such a positive place, man.
Yeah. Another thing, I think we actually mentioned this, so I'll skip past this one, but Jim, we mentioned last week, had worked on a map where he's kind of like putting people's information in there so we can kind of see where everybody is at. Really cool thing. So, you can go check that out with
Jim's
your
Google map.
City, your country name, all that good stuff.
And that's on the group, right?
It's on the group.
Yeah,
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So, and now, my good friend, Lane Smith. I don't know if you've heard of him, guys. He
sounds like a weird
he
name.
got into the group, and he I don't know
who approved that.
Who let him in? It's ridiculous.
Who's the admin for that? Wow,
Chris.
Good Lord.
But just kind of said, wow, some amazing conversations being had here. Very fitting considering we've only, we find ourselves in Rivendell and in Council. So we want to kind of get applicable, right? We want to use, we want to look at the ring a little bit more. We want to, what is the ring to you is the question.
Yeah.
And so what did you think about that?
Well,
you kind of, the instructions are to go broad, go narrow.
Yeah, I just want to
simple.
see, it was inspired by that conversation we had last week.
Yeah.
Right? Where, who posted that?
About
the powers of the ring.
I think it was Luca. Luca and then Jessica responded.
Yes, thank you.
And,
okay.
And had all.
So there was that conversation. I was like, man, this is such a good. I was like, felt very inspired by that and all the conversations we had. And I just thought, so kind of to branch off that, what is the ring? Like, is it as simple as we see, just this token of the enemy that, corrupts totally, or, how does it apply to you? Like if the ring was something metaphorical in your life, what would the ring be? And so I have something I've thought of. I told you to think of something too. So I'm guessing ours are probably gonna be pretty similar. Because I actually told you mine, and you were like, amen, preach it, baby, come on. But we had some responses that were amazing. Michael Van Ness says the representation of an idol or an addiction, and that's actually what Andy Serkis would totally agree with. Yeah. He saw Gollum as an addict. Yeah. He saw him as someone who needed his fix. The ring was his fix, and he was in withdrawal. Yeah. And so that's a beautiful a beautiful comparison. Though I'm not sure that he meant it to be a metaphor or representative of something. I imagine that he was trying to have it represent a concept rather than something specific. I agree totally. I think it was broad intentionally so that the ring could apply. You believe in applicability to something in your life too. Yeah. Jim SP said, if I recall correctly, he even said that it wasn't meant to be an allegory, since he hates allegories, which he does, but it was still a manifestation of a common human experience. I would guess addiction for most of us. So, and then Michael went and said also maybe power and control. Those things have a lot to do with addiction and can be very addicting themselves. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then they bring up the Ring of Gyges, which is an ancient myth that Tolkien kind of derived some inspiration from, which I had never heard of. That was new to me. That was really cool. Yeah. Jim, says I agree, and talking about the corruption of absolute power. Michael was talking about that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Jory Webb said, to me, the ring is always represented a physical manifestation of temptation, and mine goes along with that almost exactly. Remember, this is only movie talk because this is my first read through. Well, Jory, thank you for joining us. We love hearing that. That is so. We actually talked about that last night, didn't we?
Jory's a good guy. Yeah.
Because this is my first read through, so he's talking about the lens of the movie. Which, but the way everyone is tempted by its power is the catalyst for my theory. It reminds me a bit of Hua and Thor, Mjolnir.
I can never say it either. Mjolnir, whatever it's called. It's his hammer.
And Thor in a way, but different. You don't have to be worthy of the ring to possess it, because no one is worthy of that power, but you do have to be a worthy person to bear it and then have the strength to part with it. Just my thoughts. Very interesting. Alex McGee said, I like looking at the ring as simply power, which corrupts absolutely and is a running theme elsewhere in the books. For example, Frodo wishes the ring had never come to him. To me, and I think Gandalf, that's what qualifies him as the ring bearer. Aragorn doesn't really want the throne of Gondor, and to me, that's why he's destined to be the king in the first place. Yeah, and he's a very, like we said last chapter, that's really pronounced in the films. Mm-hmm. But even in the books, he says, we Rangers are happy to defend these lands and keep them free, and to be spited. Yeah, that's fine with us. We don't. That's cool. But if I need to be king, if this is the time for it, and I believe it is, I'll step up and do that. Yeah, sure. It wasn't random that he just so happened to be one of the more humble and reluctant leaders in the book. Speaking of Aragorn, Faramir lets the ring go where his brother and father lusted after it, and the throne of Gondor, and we know how that turns out for each of them. Those who seek out and hold positions of power over others don't do so well over the course of the trilogy, even including good guys like Theoden, King Dain II, and King Brand, whereas those who refuse power altogether or take it humbly and reluctantly are rewarded. Wow. So some really good stuff. You want to read Callie's?
Yeah, sure. When I first saw this post, I started to think about the the duality of things, up, down, left, right, good, evil. Does the ring represent only evil or also good? Or also all things?
All things.
Yeah. There can't only be good, because then it's loses its meaning, right? Let's see. Is meaningless without up is meaningless without down.
Yeah.
You can't have a one-sided ring. There is the inside and the outside. Oh my gosh!
Wow, dude, Callie's getting deep here. Holy cow!
Yeah, I mean, it's just like you can't dive into a cold, lake without not having
that sauna. That's right, man. Yin and yang.
So since nothing has an intrinsic meaning, we create meaning in everything.
Wow.
Whatever meanings and properties we create, the ring only brings that forth in the one that bears it, and in all who observe it. It doesn't create anything, since it is already there. The ring amplifies. From the films, how did Boromir react to the ring? Was it bad, good, or both? Well, all or none of the answers are correct. There isn't an intrinsic or correct answer. The meaning and answer is created by each and every one. We can't really separate anything from anything else. It's all connected. The ring is a representation, a connection point of all things in Middle-earth. The ring joins all of Middle-earth, and whatever separation there is a manifestation of individual thoughts. Okay, I'll go to sleep now. That's what he finished.
Kelly, you got a couch I could lay on, and you could just kind of solve my problems. I mean, that was wow.
Right. You should go, actually, if you go find the thread, I would read that again if you're listening, and go check it out, because it goes a little deeper than I think we realize.
Wow. So, Isabel beholds. I feel like the ring is that idea of never having enough. It's the want of more. Totally agree. The ultimate greed. The want of more power to do things no one else has, etc. It's why other people always want it. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Matt Smizer also says, I always saw it as a quiet temptation. It hid away for hundreds of years, ever vigilant for just the right situation to come along. Certain temptations can come the same way, from the shadows. One minute, everything is business as usual, but then the smallest of things, like a tiny ring, can latch on and drag you under, losing control to your passions and acting out of order. It's not in your face, but always in the background. And so for me, too, it kind of piggybacks off that as well. Temptation, and also a word that we don't really use a lot anymore in society, is like sin. Right. So it's always, for me, it's always symbolized a sin, something bad that in just the process of putting that ring on. Right. You're called, you're tempted. It's something you want to do, even though you've been told by the very wise it's wrong, that you feel in your heart you shouldn't do. But in that moment leading up to it, it's all you can think about, and you become consumed with it. You put it on. Usually nothing good happens of it. You take it off, and you feel terrible. For me, it's more of and this is, I'm not summing up the ring. I'm just telling you an identification I have to that process. It is more of a process to me. It's like that ring represents a bad choice, a bad decision. We've had this debate. Can it be used for good? Right? I don't know. Can it be used for a temporary good and then eventually evil?
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, it's give me what you got. You're thinking over there. I like it.
I'm thinking hard, and Calais, like his response, his thoughts here. Actually, when I think someone mentioned at some point that Sauron, did not, and even Melkor did not start off evil. Right.
Was it Elrond that talked about that?
I don't.
Or was it in the group?
Was it? It might have been. I can't remember. But I just the idea that their intentions might not have
weren't
been
to be evil.
Evil, right? And so when you look at in our the faith in which we grew up in, Lucifer and his fall, right? From grace,
right?
Just being once being the greatest and above all other angels in heaven, right? And then kind of
wanted to be like God.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know. It's to me.
Which, hey, isn't that worse? I mean, it's not that intention isn't a bad intention.
No. I mean,
wanting to be like God, and then that turning into wanting to be God.
Yeah, we're gonna get too.
Whoa,
deep.
Dude. Okay,
we're gonna get too deep
but
because
it's interesting because it ties into Tolkien. Tolkien was a Catholic, right? And he said, this isn't a religious work, but that was his lens. That's where he came from, and stuff that was in him came out in his works.
Yeah,
and that's just kind of interesting too.
I keep thinking that like the idea is that it could be, and the way in which it's connected, right? The way in which it could be all different things, right? It depends on your perspective. I mean, you also look at the intent. The intent of it was created to, control the other rings. Yeah. And it's meant to kind of dominate and for dominion
and to
right?
bind.
Yeah. And to bind. So, I mean, you get into these conversations as to is that a good thing? Do we need someone over, a good overlord seeing, over these things? You know what I'm saying? Like, do we let men be free and do what they're going to do, or do we need to have some supreme power ruling over them type of situation? Sorry, get a little dark side here on the
no, because podcast. I mean, like you're saying, it's all about perspective. So I mean, what is good, what is evil? It depends on who you ask, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it really does. If an orc's having a good time,
but I think one of the things though, because you look at the effects that it's had, and people talk about its effect on Boromir and others and stuff, that desire, I think, in our society, in our world, in our mythologies and stuff, to have control and dominion over people, and things. Although it may start with those good intentions, it in of itself is this. It comes from this place of evil, or that it's not something that we mortals can really, control and grasp and not let it consume us and take us to a place that we don't want to go. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. I absolutely. It isn't amazing too how it's a physical object that causes like internal deterioration. It's just like so amazing to think about. Like it is a physical object that gets in your head and gets in your soul and doesn't let go. Yeah. And it might be fast and it might work slowly, but eventually it will bend you to its will. Yeah. Yeah. Man.
Yeah, we could spend a lot of time on the ring. And it's worthy of spending that amount of time on it because it's
kind of funny. I mean, you don't really, I guess maybe because we're confronted with it, right, in this chapter, but there hasn't really been that opportunity to talk about it in that. We just, it's evil, it's bad, it came from a bad guy and got to get rid of it kind of thing. And so it's interesting to talk about in more depth.
Yeah. Which we'll do in the future. We'll continue to do because I hadn't read all of these comments yet, and they're really starting to kind of get to me a little bit. So
don't don't be consumed.
Okay. All right. I'll do what I can.
I don't want you to turn into a golem type creature next time I see you.
Now I'm going. Yeah, please. I'm going to go ahead and give us a little bit of recap from last chapter.
Yep.
And we'll have Lane kind of look ahead and see if we can streamline some of Gandalf's story here going forward. Not that you really can, but
and it's tough because it's
in the
there's so much good stuff.
Yeah.
So much meat in between these potatoes here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me recap us from last week. Basically, we talked about who was at the council. We went over the roll call, Gloin's story and the shadow that fell over their hearts and this longing for ancient treasures and the messenger who came to Gloin. We talked about Elrond's story, and his basically realizing that he his story, his memory reaches back to the first age, and that he was there. His great trial was the battle, the war, the Ring of Power, right, versus Sauron. In the second age, he talks about Gilgalad, Elendil, the sword, Narsil, the spear, Aiglas, right? Getting better at these names.
Sounds really good, actually.
Getting better at these names. And so we went over those different characters and what happened and how they destroyed air quote Sauron, right? And then we talked about the kingdoms, Arnor, and Gondor, and what happened to them in the aftermath of those wars.
The long-term effect of those. Yeah.
What kind of became of men, really.
Yeah.
He was kind of
and then
recapping.
how it came into like the two men at the council.
Exactly. Who we have Boromir, and Aragorn, right, talking and sharing what's happening. So and that leads us right into there's still more, and I think we dive right into we have Gandalf telling his story, He's interrupted. This is the summary for this week. He basically fills in some of these gaps, explains what has happened to him.
Yeah, where he's been. Right.
Tells the story of, well, the ring bearers told their stories, which was from last week. And so he kind of has, Frodo wants to know more from him as to where he's been, what's been going on. He's interrupted by Legolas a couple of times, so he can tell his story. Gandalf continues, talks about Saruman's betrayal, and they have a nice little discussion about Tom Bombadil, and then a discussion about what do we do with the ring.
Right, and we haven't really figured anything out. We're just, talking in circles here. Which is what a ring will have you do, right?
Exactly.
It is. It does go round and around, and there's no end to it. But we actually have most of this chapter ahead of us. Like we split it, and we were trying to debate to figure out where we should split this chapter. So hopefully, it was a good decision where we cut it in half. But we thought, we'll deal with the past first, and then we'll move on to filling in what happened with our great wizard and where he was and everything he had to deal with, and then that'll lead us to the end of the chapter where they decide what to do now in the future. So, kind of opens with Galdor, right? And Galdor of the Havens is saying, okay, so we've heard these accounts and all this stuff, but we know about this Saruman, right? Saruman, who is wise in ring lore. Why don't we ask him if he can confirm, right, that this is indeed the One Ring?
Yes. So what he asked for, that I think Galdor asked several questions, and when Gandalf goes to tell his story, he answers one, and then he will, it'll seem like we forgot the other question, and then he'll bring it back and say, now to Galdor's second question. It's like, what was his second question? I have no idea. Right. Please recap it for me. So he says, what are the proofs? Yeah. He wants proof that this lesser ring that is sought by, that the messenger who went to Gloin and to Dane and his people, if it's such a lesser trinket, why do we believe that this is Frodo's holding out now, the Ring of Power, Isildur's Bane? Right. And how do we know? What are the proofs? To the wise, he's asking that. And then he also says, what of Saruman? As you said, why is he not here? Right. Where's he at? And so those are the questions that Gandalf, his story is held to, air quote again, last. He's interrupted, and there's a lot of different other things that are talked about in between here, but he has a story to tell. And so he kind of dives into that, and he says, that some, would think the tidings of Gloin and the pursuit of Frodo proof enough that the halfling's trove is a thing of great worth to the enemy. Yet it is a ring. What then? And so I think right there he's trying to say, already we know this is something significant.
Yeah. Who it's drawn out.
Right, exactly. Right. Look who's pursuing it. Right. The Nine, the Nazgul, are out after this, ring. It's got to be bigger than what we're being told by the enemy. Yep. So.
And then talks about if it were one of the other rings, if it was a lesser ring, then, we know that the 9 belong to the Nazgul. Mm-hmm. The 7 that belong to the dwarves are taken or destroyed. And at this glowing stirred, but did not speak. So isn't it interesting? Even just mentioning that there's pain with the dwarves. Yeah, right. Yes. There's pain there. That it's different from all the other individuals who received rings, all the other races that received rings. It's just interesting, worth note of. And then the 3 we know of. Okay, speaking of the elven rings, what then is this one that he desires so much to pursue a little hobbit, to bring his Nazgul out of the shadows and
Yep, exactly. Now, after he goes over those rings, he starts his story back with the necromancer. Yeah. And Dol Guldur. Yeah. Right? Which is crazy. Cool connection for us. And we talked, Lane and I were talking off the podcast about how, Peter Jackson basically, wanted to include some of this. Yeah. This is the tie-in. Gandalf is talking about the White Council driving out the necromancer and what they really found out there. At Dol Guldur. Yeah,
and so, also it ties into. He goes on to talk about it. It ties on to Saruman and how Saruman was kind of always sort of like poo-pooing this idea that Sauron was alive and well, that Sauron was planning, that Sauron was massing forces, that there was a dark evil again present in Mordor. And it's just interesting how these two, it goes back to that necromancer, it goes back to the White Council, and then you can almost kind of see, like this shows where hindsight is 20/20, right? Yeah. perspective gives a lot of information that you wish you would have had in the time, and you can start to see, okay, well, everything that we're about to learn about some treachery, you could almost kind of not see coming, but there were questions.
Well, also, I think the people of Middle-earth want to believe that the ring is gone. That it
is
sure.
Why wouldn't you want to?
Right?
Yeah,
and so
absolutely.
It's easy for Saruman to lull them into, this like, don't worry about it. It's been washed down the river and out into the sea. And it's gone.
Right.
But
it's not really gone, though.
Right, exactly. And so that was...
But beyond our help.
Yeah. There you go. And so, but Gandalf always, I mean, he says, that he did allow himself to be lulled. They wanted to believe that, right?
And that's something else. Well, we'll get there. I'll bring it up when we get there. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Ahead of myself.
Jump ahead if you want.
And I was just thinking about how that, I have a note here, and you're right, because he does this over and over again. Gandalf says like 3 or 4 times, this was my greatest mistake. I made this error. If I hadn't have done this, we'd be in better shape now.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting. He does do a bit of that in the films, but that's almost like a trait I think that they took from him and kind of transferred to the character of Aragorn in the films.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Aragorn's very he's really self-critical. And Gandalf is too. And then also just, how he says these things, like his timing was poor and his decisions were bad, and were they?
Yeah.
Were they really? And Elrond defends him at one point, I think, coming up here. He's like, dude, but for you, we'd be in a worse position because of your vigilance, because of you asking questions and never giving up on your convictions.
Yeah.
We'd be in a worse position right now.
Yeah. There is always something that with Gandalf's heart, he talks about a feeling, this uneasy, like he still sought information. He still kept an eye out, you know, for stuff because it wasn't destroyed,
right?
And things. And so you're right, but he allows himself. Well, the whole White Council is dissuaded. This is the word used, right? To not pursue the necromancer. Yeah. Now, what's up with that? You know what I mean? Like it's just like we're gonna let this guy over near Mirkwood just
It's causing a lot of trouble.
And we're not gonna. We are the wise. We have this power, but we're not gonna go face. I think Saruman might try to think that the necromancer was just such an insignificant sort of like force, and they do kind of think that.
And Saruman has a lot of pride, too, doesn't he?
Right. That
pride
he
is one of his
called
downfalls.
forth, to face down this lowly necromancer, right?
I'm the head of the order.
Yeah.
Let's get Radagast on that.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. He probably would have said that.
But he can't be trusted either. So I mean, come on.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but anyways, again, we get back to Elrond's foresight, right, and him seeing things, and they realized they were too late, and that this was a mistake.
Yeah.
Sauron, had been watching them and had been long preparing against, this stroke that they were taking at the necromancer, air quote, which is Sauron, right? It's him reemerging, and what I think is interesting too about that. Let's see here, he was governing from Mordor, right? But if you look at where Dol Guldur is up by Mirkwood and things, it's more of almost trying to gather some of the northern orc force and power up there,
right?
Where the ancient evil kingdom used to be.
Yeah, the dominion of the Witch King.
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Ooh,
just the position there, but. So you
could almost. You're right. You could almost kind of see him trying to set up it in an interesting way, kind of parallel what Gondor used to be. There used to be a South Kingdom and a Northern Kingdom, Arnor and Gondor, and him trying to set up. It's always better to have multiple bases, right, that are strong. So
right.
if you can take an attack from or make an attack from multiple points and use strength in multiple positions, then easier end game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and so he talks about how basically when they drove him out there that it was really it was a feign, right? He was pretending to flee, and he actually does go back to the Dark Tower and declares himself. Yeah. And so now it's out there, and but Saruman said, they feared that he was seeking the One Ring again, and that eagerly seeking it, right?
Yep.
And they hadn't any real news of it, right? So. But Saruman said nay and repeated what he had said before to us. The One would never again be found in Middle-earth. At the worst, said he, our enemy knows that we have it not, and that it is still lost. But what was lost may yet be found, he thinks. Fear not, his hope will cheat him. have I not earnestly studied this matter?
Right. Using his ring lore knowledge to kind of,
Yeah. So exactly. He's considered, he's the great, he's studied more about ring lore than anyone else and stuff. So you got to trust me on this one, guys.
Right.
But to let your guard down in that way, radical, isn't it?
It is.
To not be able to, you have all these different resources and stuff in Middle Earth that you couldn't put together a band or a small group, a small council to seek out, this ring, or to be diligently, following, tracking the enemy's, move. If the Dark Lord is seeking it, it just, I don't know. They were lulled.
You're right, and especially after an encounter with a necromancer like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd think that you would be heightened. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, like it. So when does Saruman really start to turn? When does he start to make that fall from grace? You know what I mean?
Right. Well, at what point was his heart? I mean, because at this time, I think he secretly does desire a great ring.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
And I think it's sort of like either one of two things. We'll never find it. That's fine.
Yeah.
But if there's a chance of finding it, I don't want anyone else looking for it except for me.
Right.
Because in my own time, I'm gonna seek it out.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
I don't know. So let's see though.
I love this next paragraph real quick.
Go for it.
I don't know why. It's just again, it kind of breaks us out of history and also just the council right before us. Gandalf fell silent, gazing eastward from the porch to the far peaks of the misty mountains, at whose great roots the peril of the world had so long lain hidden. He sighed. Just the irony, and he's sighing because he's thinking like, wow, it was just over there. It was just over there. And we've been so close so many times.
Yeah.
You okay there? You gonna start crying? What's going on?
Dude, I don't know what happens, man. Like when this stuff, I'm not crying. I just get like emotional, okay? And so like I just picture,
You can see this, can't you?
I can see him sitting back in his chair a little bit or whatever, falling silent, gazing eastward. Because I actually thought that was a cool line, as well. And to see it there and to have a moment of pause. And Gandalf is speaking. No one is going to interrupt him.
Yeah.
And he's just going to glance over there and really just, it sets in.
Yeah.
Wow.
And think about how many times, I think it's more powerful even because how many times has he thought about this? How many times has that same thought probably crossed his mind or that he's mulled over? And then also this visual aspect of being able to see it. Yeah. That it brings it to him in a new way where he's just like, it cuts even deeper.
Yeah.
He sighs, there I was at fault, he said. I was lulled, as you pointed out, by the words of Saruman the Wise, but I should have sought for the truth sooner, and our peril would now be less.
But Elrond's pretty good at saying, no, friend.
Yes. We were all at fault.
Yeah, it's Gandalf's, as he says, vigilance.
Yes.
That has kept this darkness at bay a little while. And it's allowed them to have this council and be where they are.
Yeah.
But say on, and he talks about his heart misgiving him. And I mentioned that earlier, just like he had this feeling all along, against all reason. He and I desired to know how this thing came to Gollum and how he had possessed it.
Yeah.
So he sets this watch for him. So even though
the hunt for Gollum,
right, the hunt for Gollum comes up here, and even though he's been told these things about the ring, something in Gandalf told him to keep looking.
See, we were just talking about that, but I love that about Gandalf. Like he's one of those guys who is so. I don't know if he's so convicted with this. Like this inner sense of what he should do, or he just, well, I guess that's the only thing. I mean, he follows his gut. He trusts himself, and even if he knows other people aren't going to approve or other people don't agree, he finds ways to pursue what he's thinking and what he believes.
Yeah. Right?
I mean, he doesn't go and tell Saruman, hey, by the way, I'm going to keep looking for this. He respects Saruman. Saruman's ahead of his order. I guess what I'm trying to say is he's not a guy who goes and burns bridges. He's very mindful. He's very thoughtful. But at the same time, if he thinks something's up, he's going to make sure he sees it to the end.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of guy. That's the kind of wizard. That's the kind of Istari you want to follow.
Right.
To the very end. Like his wisdom is unbelievable. And it's so ironic that, Saruman is the one who carries the title the Wise.
Yeah, I know. I know it is, isn't it? And Gandalf is who he is, and who didn't want to go had to be persuaded.
Because what wisdom is there as in saying, nope, it's gone? Well, do we know? No, but it's probably in the sea. Just trust me. I know what I'm talking about.
Right. Yeah.
There's no wisdom in that whatsoever.
Right. Yeah.
So,
no, I'm with you. So, but now we get into the hunt for this ring, and basically Gandalf guards his misgivings.
Yeah.
He will not tell anyone
Yeah.
that he has this feeling that the ring could still be out there.
Yeah.
And with what happened with Bilbo, the ring, he was always curious.
Yeah.
From the very beginning, what was going on?
Yeah.
Why did this ring come to him? Its properties, what it was doing for Bilbo.
Because it seems yes, because all of it seems so unlikely, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It seems unlikely that such a powerful. Well, I don't know. Maybe not. He doesn't know how powerful it is, but just you're right. Those interesting facts of like Bilbo not showing any kind of age.
Right. Yep.
And then the fact that Gollum had found it. How does a creature like that come across something?
Right. A magical ring.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, but he keeps that close to the chest.
Yeah.
Until he actually has this. He seeks out help from Aragorn. Mm-hmm. And they have this council. They sit down. They kind of talk, and I think it's Aragorn who says we need to set a watch for Gollum.
Yeah.
And he talks about waiting for him, and a long time until he actually, until he creeps out, doesn't he? I think
yeah.
Because he's watching for him and waiting for him to come out.
And this comes about too when he calls upon the Dunedain to help guard the Shire. This is like 17 years ago. So at the beginning of where we pick up, right, in this book, when we're talking about Bilbo's 111th birthday, right?
Yeah.
He says, there are spies, there are beasts and birds. I'm going to ask the Dunedain to help guard the Shire. And then, he opens his heart to Aragorn, tells him his concerns, and they start to search for him. And eventually, it's not even Gandalf that finds him and takes him. It's Aragorn.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because he starts to kind of have these.
He has other business he's got to take care of.
Well, and he remembers the proof. So back to the proof as to how is this ring the one ring.
Yep.
And he starts to think to himself. Saruman was talking about the 9, the 7, and the 3. Mm-hmm. Each had their proper gem. Mm-hmm. Not so the one. Mm-hmm. It was round and unadorned. Appearing as if it were one of the lesser rings, but its marks were set upon it, with the skill that let's set upon the skill maybe could still see and read. So the markings, as we know, the language and the phrase that's written thereon, and so he wants to go seek out what was it, what are the markings, what was said,
right, and
he goes to Gondor.
And how do you see them?
So he decides to go to Gondor, and he thinks back to Isildur and perhaps the places in which he stopped and where maybe he would have written some of this down, or maybe he would have described the ring, and he's looking for more of those proofs.
I love too the welcome he gets from Lord Denethor.
Yeah.
And I can just see, like, especially, I guess this might be a movieism, but I can see, like, as Gandalf is saying this, like Boromir just gritting his teeth or rolling his eyes or something, probably not being too. Or maybe not. Maybe, I guess I don't understand totally the true nature of their relationship between father and son. Maybe he knows how Denethor really is. But, less welcome did the Lord Denethor show me than of old. He grudgingly permitted me to search among his hoarded scrolls and books. He said, if you think you can glean more information from it, than me, good luck. Yeah. But there's you're not looking. There's nothing really you're going to find there that isn't already known.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. And I think this is, he's kind of making a jab there. While I bring up all of that, he's talking about his welcome, right. And Boromir kind of jumps in and talks about, the place in which it was known, that Isildur had stopped.
Yeah.
What was the city? Minas.
Oh crap.
Here it is.
Minas Anor.
Minas Anor. He stopped in there, and he's actually speaking with his nephew, Meneldil, right? Mm-hmm. He's speaking with his nephew there, and actually gives him the rule of the Southern Kingdom. Yeah. And at that time, he plants the sapling of the white tree in memory of his brother, who was lost, right?
That's right. And so, again, remember, Minas Anor then
There
was the name then for Minas Tirith.
Yes.
Yes.
There you go.
Yep.
That's the names are changing.
Yep.
Yeah. There we are, and Boromir's just bringing that information up, right? And Gandalf says, true. And at that time, he made this scroll.
Yeah.
And that is not remembered in Gondor, it would seem. They had forgotten it. Gandalf finds it, and this scroll concerns the ring. And he writes in there, let's see, the great ring shall go now to be an heirloom of the North Kingdom. But records of it shall be left in Gondor, where also dwell the heirs of Elendil. Least a time come when the memory of these great matters shall grow dim. Yeah. So he goes on to kind of describe the ring here. Do you want to read some of the ring description?
Yeah.
I think we'll just read the whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
I got it all underlined there.
It's his words describing what we need to see in the ring.
It was hot when I first took it, hot as a gleed, and my hand was scorched, so that I doubt if ever again I shall be free of the pain of it. That's a detail we don't get. That is amazing. Yet even as I write, it is cooled, and it seemeth to shrink, though it loseth neither its beauty nor its shape. Already the writing upon it, which at first was as clear as red flame, fadeth, and is now only barely to be read. Yeah. It is fashioned in an elven script of Eregion, for they have no letters in Mordor for such subtle work, but the language is unknown to me. So even he didn't know the language. I deem it to be a tongue of the Black Land, since it is foul and uncouth. What evil it saith, I do not know, but I trace here a copy of it, lest it fade beyond recall. The ring misseth, maybe, the heat of Sauron's hand, which was black and yet burned like fire, and so Gil-galad was destroyed. And maybe were the gold made hot again, the writing should be refreshed. Little hint there for Gandalf.
Yeah.
But for my part, I will risk no hurt to this thing.
Right.
And we get, before we finish, we get little hints that how, remember when back in Bag-End, Gandalf throws the ring into the fire, and Frodo, oh wait, no.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
So, and this is that same feeling that Isildur, I'm sure, has even more deeply. I'm not going to put it in a fire. I don't want it to be even touched with any kind of possible, evil thing. Of all the works of Sauron, the only fair. It is precious to me, though I buy it with great pain.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. When I read these words, my quest was ended, Gandalf said. I mean, that's all the information he needed to know. He knew how to test if this really was the one true ring.
Yeah, he did. And so that when he takes back off, right, and he needs to go seek out Aragorn and Lorien and his messengers, different people. He wanted to kind of see what was going on with this hunt for Gollum. And
one thing I forgot. Okay, so Celebrimbor was one of the great ring makers, right? Yep. And actually, way back, I'm making an apology here. Way back when we were talking about the Shadow of Mordor, and not knowing if it's a video game, right? Not knowing if that video game story or characters were true or made up for that video game. Celebrimbor is the Wraith. His spirit is in that game.
Oh, really?
And so he is obviously a real character, but one that slipped my memory. Cool. Didn't remember. So boom, here you go. Celebrimbor,
didn't know he was
real and an ancient, ringmaster.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, they talk about he was the one who overheard Sauron, right?
Yeah.
Saying what he was saying, with in regards to the ring.
Yeah.
They all would have been deceived. He actually goes and warns.
Gosh, how interesting.
Right? He actually, is able to warn them.
Wow.
And stuff. So, but they get back, right? And this bit about, Aragorn tracking and catching Gollum is pretty straightforward.
Yep.
And basically Gollum doesn't like him, but he takes him to the elves in Mirkwood.
Yeah.
And basically his story, Gollum's story, and Bilbo's matched. They kind of I don't know. I guess
that's true. I didn't even think about that.
And that's sort of what it is that Gandalf sort of, I think, gleans, and they learn that that's more proof. We're adding more proof to more. That one validates the other type of thing.
Yeah.
So they're still intrigued by the properties of the ring and what it can do. To people, but it's starting to prolong Bilbo's life the same as it did Gollum's.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's see. Oh, so for one thing, the tale he told was of his loss. Agree with that of Bilbo, as I said, has now told who has now told openly for the first time. But that mattered little, since I had already guessed it. So, in the true telling here, I guess this is the whole point of the council, right? Is that you get a true telling here, and they're getting the story of Gollum, and they're matching all and Gandalf's story, and all of this is matching and coming together. So that is what it is. Yep. Now let's get back to Galdor, right? And if that is not proof enough, Galdor, there is the other test that I spoke of. Upon this very ring, you have seen held aloft, round and unadorned. The letters that Isildur reported may still be read, if one has the strength of will to set the golden ring in the fire. And, then he goes on to read the...
Yeah. Ashna... Okay, I'm going to try it.
Go for it.
I'm going to try it.
Try it.
Ashnag Durbatuluk, Ashnaj Gimpatul, Ashnaj Thrakatuluk, Agburjur Ishi Krimpatul.
That's awesome, dude.
Feel kind of dirty saying that,
That's
man.
awesome.
And so did Elrond. He didn't like that.
Yeah.
He was like, never have we ever spoke that tongue here in Rivendell, Gandalf. And I love this because this is the extended edition, almost word for word. And then Gandalf says, "I don't ask for forgiveness."
No.
Sadly, this is kind of a wake up call, Elrond, to everyone present, that in every corner of Middle Earth, you might hear this tongue. This might be the common tongue, and it might take over the common tongue that we speak now. Yeah. So. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So, and then he translates it. He says, "One ring to rule them all, one ring to find them, one ring to bring them all, and darkness bind them."
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
So, and what they've learned here too, when they capture Gollum, is that the enemy had him first, right?
Yeah.
Because once he's with the elves of Mirkwood, we're going to learn here a little bit from Legolas that he's actually coordinating with them. Gollum was set a task. Yeah. When he leaves Mordor, but they learned that Sauron knows that the One Ring is still out there.
Yeah.
And he's learned about the Shire, and he's learned about Baggins. Yeah. And so that is very troublesome, right? And so
you also think about too. It isn't interesting. I wonder, because that's information that Bilbo gave Gollum.
Yeah.
So talk about long-term effects. We're seeing the long-term effects of he didn't have to tell him his name or where he was from.
Right.
And he does, and this ends up. I mean, you could say it ends up coming to bite him and his descendants in the butt, or that it ultimately fulfills the prophecy of what was going to, or a better. It's at the end of evil ultimately, but it's just really interesting how some two simple words, that the decision between speaking them and not can totally change everything.
Exactly. Well, even Gandalf brings this up later, and it's brought up here now, and we might as well talk about it, just so we don't have to kind of summarize this here for you guys. But Gollum's treatment, the way in which he's treated by the elves, the way he's encouraged, the pity that Bilbo took, right? But is it pity? And not killing him. Gandalf has that piece of advice he passes on, but they take because Gollum has a part to play. He does. He is a ring bearer.
Yes.
So
for a long time.
And anyways, but they allow him to climb those. They had
him take him out for walks and let him climb trees.
They're out there in trees. He's getting secret messages, and a pack of orcs sets in, attacks him, and he goes free. Yeah, and that's what Legolas's message was.
Don't you love the tiff between Legolas's story and Glowing though? Yes. He talks about, hey, I wasn't treated that well.
Well, he says
when I spent time.
You were less tender to me. Glowing said with a flash of his eyes, right? Yeah. And
then Gandalf kind of says, "You know what, man? If we brought this up, if we didn't let this pass, we'd be here the rest of the year talking about the ancient quarrels between dwarves and elves.
And elves, yeah.
Now's the time to come together."
Exactly. But I do think it's neat that every time the dwarves need to do something, they stand up all the way.
Yeah, they do. Yeah,
and they bow.
Yeah.
So he rose and bowed. Yeah. And Legolas continued. And so they just kind of talk about
and it's about the coordination between that attack.
Yeah.
Did you say that already? I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I did. Yeah. Like just the coordinating between the orcs, and there's this whole idea that Mordor wanted Gollum to be set free, and so they worked. Sauron worked and his commanders and whoever else, make sure that he is set free. Yeah. So they failed to recapture him. They did look for him, but Gandalf just says, well, he's gone. Mm-hmm. It is what it is. He's gone. We have no time to seek for him again. He must do what he will. He may play a part yet. that neither he nor Sauron have foreseen. So, and now, whereas I said as when we started the reread, and now I will answer Galdor's other questions. What of Saruman? What are his counsels to us in this need? This tale I must tell in full, for only Elrond has heard it yet, and that in brief. And so he goes on to kind of talk about what has happened here. So now for this part, this is another long part here, guys. And we're going to kind of, I think I want to do some of the major takeaways. You've read the chapter, and so Lane and I won't really try to summarize the whole thing for you because it's long. But he is actually, his heart is misgiving him when he goes to check up on the
Shire.
Well, and he was checking up on Gollum first, and then he was going on his way to the Shire because he realizes that I know where the ring is, and I need to go test it now. I need to this proof needs to be done. On his way there, no, he had left it with Frodo already, hadn't he?
Yeah.
Had he tested? I'm trying to remember. Anyways, I'm a little foggy on that. But on his way back, he is actually, he's intercepted by Radagast.
It is interesting too. Just to back up a little bit there, this cloud of anxiety he gets, this foreboding, this like sixth sense that he talks about the black shadow. When he heard of a black shadow, a chill smote his heart. Again, just more proof that Gandalf listens to his gut. Right before he's intercepted or comes across Radagast, he has these feelings that come upon him again.
That's where I was getting confused. Okay, so he was in the Shire.
Yeah.
Right, and that's when he does tell Frodo,
I gotta go.
Okay, yeah.
Because we always wondered. Right. We talked about way back in that chapter. Remember? I'm remembering it like as clear as day. We were like, why did he leave? Did he get a message from somebody? Did he have a feeling? Did he hear some news? Right, and this is it. It was that feeling that he needed to go. And some news that he had heard, mixed that he needed to go.
Yeah, and so he's not really sure what he's searching for. Like, there's a fear that when he finds these few, Southerners, right, and he learns that there's something going on, he starts going up and down the Greenway, and that's when he runs into Radagast. Okay, and Radagast has been given the quest, the mission to go find him. And tell him what's going on. And he says, I was seeking you, but I'm a stranger in these parts. All I knew was that you might be found in the wild region, in a place called the Shire. And so he says, I have an urgent errand. My news is evil. He looked around and he says, Nazgul. The nine are abroad again. They have crossed the river secretly and are moving westward. They have taken the guise of riders in black.
Yeah.
Whew. I knew then what I had dreaded without knowing it. The enemy must have some great need or purpose, said Radagast. But what it is makes me look to these distant and desolate parts I cannot guess. So Radagast doesn't know what the enemy's looking for.
What the lure is. Right.
But Gandalf does.
Yeah. What do you mean? He says.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
Tell me. So he's trying to figure out what he wants to know what Radagast has heard without telling him what he knows.
Holy smokes, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He's playing dumb.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, why would they come here? What do you mean?
Right.
I have been told that wherever they go, the riders ask for news of a land called Shire.
Yeah.
The Shire, I said, but my heart sank, for even the wise might fear to withstand the nine. And they're gathered together in the full force.
Before he tells him about anything about Saruman, I think he is thinking in his own heart, I know where I'm going. Yeah. I'm going back to Hobbiton, and I need to help. This is, he knows what's up.
Yeah.
And he left. He shouldn't have left. I think it was it had pulled. Maybe it was something that was used to pull him away.
Maybe.
While the riders go in.
Oh my gosh, maybe, dude.
Type of situation, because now he has a decision to go back and help Frodo. Or Radagast says, Saruman, would like to speak with you and wants to kind of, for you to seek his counsel.
Yeah, and he would have gone back and gotten Frodo and left right away.
Yeah.
Your man.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, but he knows that Saruman was a part of driving out the necromancer, and things.
And he's the head of his order, right? I mean,
exactly.
Yeah, he's someone, someone to be looked up to, especially with all these, with this news concerning the ring, and his knowledge of the histories of the ring. That he's probably hoping that Saruman will help. Yeah,
for sure.
Right.
Well, and so he actually, before he leaves Radagast, and Radagast says, "Well, then you need to go now. You need to go seek him now." And he asked Radagast to use all of his friends, the birds and the beasts and things, to send him messages of happenings and things that are happening.
And
right?
send it to Saruman.
Yeah, exactly. So exactly, he's sending it to Saruman, and to me, he said, to Gandalf himself and to Saruman.
Yeah,
and that's what saves him. That's what saves.
That's true. That's right.
Gandalf.
That's true. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So
and then the fact that he says that he'll be in Orthanc too.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He tells him where he'll be. Yeah. Yeah. So now this is when he writes his letter in Bree. He's right there. He was too weary to go right away, so he stays. Talks to Butterbur, writes the letter,
and he says,
it's
interesting. He says, "Never did I make a greater mistake."
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
But we've talked about this before. Was it really a mistake?
He doesn't know. He's not all knowing.
Right. Exactly. Right. It felt like a mistake at the time, but if the events hadn't happened the way they had, who knows? Would Strider have accompanied them? Would they have made it through the wilderness to Rivendell?
Yeah.
Who's to say, man?
Right. Exactly.
Tom Bombadil, probably. He could tell us for sure.
Well, we're going to get there. So we still have a lot more to go on this.
Sorry.
It's okay. It is what it is.
Shadowfax.
Now let's skip to where he basically comes to Saruman.
Yeah.
He's there. And he starts to notice some interesting, things about him. I think the dialogue is pretty interesting. So you have come, Gandalf, he said to me gravely. But in his eyes there seemed to be a white light, as if a cold laughter was there in his heart. Mm-hmm. Kind of like, haha, you're here. Mm-hmm. It worked. I've got you. Yes, I've come, right? And let's see. I have come for your aid. And he calls him Saruman the White. And that seemed to kind of anger him.
Pissed him off
he was
a little
called
bit.
the White.
Yeah.
And then he sort of accents or really emphasizes when he refers back to him, you have indeed Gandalf the Grey. Yeah.
Scoffing at him.
Right.
Yeah.
So they kind of go back and forth, and I think the movie does a good job of this. If you've watched the movie and talking about, now it's a little slightly different though.
It is. I think it's creepier in the book. Honestly,
it's creepier in the book, but it's also in the movie. I think Saruman is more ready to ally himself with Sauron right away.
Oh yeah.
Whereas this
gets right to the point. And
this is more about the ring. Still for Saruman, he realizing that the ring is there. Let's use it.
Yeah.
We should use it.
And really trying to get Gandalf to join with him in this.
Yeah. Reason and wisdom would say.
Yeah.
That we should do these things.
It's also interesting too how so far all of all of the evil forces we've seen have it's been shadow, been black, been dark, all this stuff. But that line you read just really stuck in my head. Talking about his eyes seem to come a white light. Mm-hmm. And most times we think about that as a beautiful glistening in someone's light. A white light is a good thing, as if a cold laughter was in his heart. So appealing to that sense of white is something beautiful and something pure, but can also be something really, really cold. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And really, really distant and really, really bad in a way too. So it's I don't know. It just shows that really nobody can be trusted. Nobody can be trusted.
Yeah, it does.
So,
they have a little back and forth exchange here. They're talking about, Gandalf's trying to get to the point here. I've been sent by Radagast, and Radagast has told me that the 9 have come forth and they've crossed the river. And this is where Saruman kind of like scoffs again. Radagast the Brown, Radagast the Bird Tamer, Radagast the Simple, Radagast the Fool. Yeah. And he's played his part. That was set for him. But basically, for you have come, and that was all the purpose in the message that he had sent with Radagast. And here you will stay, Gandalf the Grey, and rest from your journeys, for I am Saruman the Wise, Saruman Ringmaker, Saruman of many colors.
Isn't it interesting too how he's speaking in like triplets here, like 3 phrases: Radagast the Bird Tamer, Radagast the Simple, Radagast the Fool. Mm-hmm. Saruman the Wise, Saruman the Ringmaker, Saruman of many colors. Yeah, it's just it's like it's a very poetic way of speaking. Yeah, almost makes me wonder if there's some spell in the words that he's trying to weave. I mean, I don't know how that would work on Gandalf, but he's really just he's at his full wit here, his full force. Yeah, and he is. You're right. What it brings emphasis to what's happening, right? To the repetition, right? That structure.
And so Gandalf notices, wow, oh, his robe is not white. He says, I liked white better, but...
Dude, and I love, too, talking about the white light being broken.
Yeah.
Like when light comes through a prism.
Yeah.
And it's broken, it's turned, it's split into all the different colors.
Right.
Man.
Well, and Saruman says that white, serves as a beginning. A white cloth may be dyed. A white page can be overwritten, and the white, can be broken. Now, this is cool. In which case it is no longer white, said I. And he that breaks a thing to find out what it is has left the path of wisdom.
No longer the wise.
Yeah, he's no longer wise then. If you have to break it to see to see what's really there and what it could be, and to see all of its different, whatever, then you've left the path of wisdom. So,
man, words getting thrown down between the Astari, my friend.
Yeah, exactly.
Gosh.
Yeah, and so he tries to convince him, to join him, right?
Yeah, and I guess, and maybe another way it's different too, I guess, so I'm thinking about this, comparing it to the movie, is, a lot of this that we're getting in dialogue was done with like action and fight sequence.
Yeah.
Right? That doesn't happen here. He's taken up to the top of, and I'm getting ahead obviously, but he's taken up to the top of Orthanc eventually after this conversation. It's not from the result of a battle and him being thrown up.
There may have been. And that's what I think is cool. I mean, like I'm just saying, there could still be, room for that. Maybe as he takes him up there could have been some fighting and stuff, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I kind of like that they did that in the film. I know that's not what happens in the book.
I do too. I guess my point was that animosity and that back and forth is done in the repartee here. It's done with that conversation. It's fleshed out in their dialogue instead of a battle. Because really, that wouldn't play as well in a book.
No, it wouldn't.
You're not going to. He doesn't describe action sequences that way in battles.
So, real quick, another difference too. They're talking about what they should do, and he keeps saying, you and I, Gandalf, should do this. As power grows, it proved friends will also grow, and the wise, such as you and I, may with patience come at last to direct its courses, to control it. We can bide our time, we can keep our thoughts and our hearts, deploring maybe evils done by the way, but approving the high and ultimate purpose. So again, trying to say, it would be wise to do this and to use it for good and to use it, in this way.
To the ends justify the means.
Exactly.
Kind of a deal.
Yeah. Knowledge, rule, order, all the things that we have so far striven in vain to accomplish, hindered rather than helped by our weak or idle friends. There would not be any real change in our designs, only in our means. And then he says, I've heard speeches like this before from Mordor. Yeah, it's all sounds the same. Sounds like you're a puppet of Mordor.
Yeah. It's interesting though, because when you look at what he's saying, and I don't know the true intentions of Saruman, but he sounds like a guy who's worked a long time and he's at his wit's end, and a lot of other stuff they've tried hasn't worked. And he's thinking maybe this is a way that it can work, right? Yeah. And it's a way to save our skins and to help control what does happen. Is it a selfish point of view? Yes. Is it the wrong perspective to have? Yeah, probably. But it's almost kind of interesting how we talked about the intentions of using the ring and all how good intentions almost never pan out, and how your intentions with the ring are used and contorted. And even here you see this with Saruman.
Yeah, you're right. Now, getting back to what you were talking about, where he this ultimately, Gandalf says, I don't agree with you. Yep. We're not doing this. Really what Saruman wants, he's saying Gandalf says there's only one, the ring only goes on one hand. Yeah. Only one person would really rule it. But even beside that, I'm not going to give up this information on the Shire. Yeah. And he says, then you're not going to leave. You're not going to leave, and you're going to stay here until the end. And he says, until what end? Until you reveal to me where the one may be found. Yeah. I have means to persuade you, or until it is found, in your despite. Let's see. Okay. So what does he say? What does he actually say here to Gandalf? When they're at the top. So they set him alone, right, at the very top. as you said.
Yeah, and he gets the perspective of what's going on in Isengard. He can see wolves and orcs are being housed. What once was green and fair is now filled with pits and forges, dark smoke wrapping itself around Orthanc, and that he's standing alone among the clouds. Talks about the fear in his heart for his friends in the Shire.
Yeah, I was just looking for like the spot where
the conversation they have on top.
No, the as they're leading him to the spot, if there was any sort of like
that's what I'm saying. It doesn't
threat,
sound like it was.
Was there any threat? Was there any beatdown, or did Gandalf just say, "Okay, I know that you have the power, to"?
They took me and set me alone.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I guess it doesn't really say specifically what went on.
There are other people there, and there are guards and there are the forces. There not forces, but there are people who are at the gate.
Yeah, a flee or an escape would be difficult.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, so I just was wondering, why does he so easily give in? Why doesn't he fight him like we see in the movie?
Maybe it's the foresight, like you talked about, of knowing that messengers will come.
Perhaps,
messengers will come, and these are messengers who still think, or hopefully still think, Saruman is a force for good, or at least know that I will be, and that I could,
yeah. So
be
anyways,
saved by one of them. I don't know. It's a good question.
So
not sure.
Yeah. I was just trying to find it, so that's why the pause there. Sorry, guys. But what you do get is Frodo's his dream.
Yeah, the dream.
Right?
That's right.
And he had seen Gandalf up there walking back and forth, and I think Gandalf's a little taken back by that, a little astonished, right?
Yeah.
That he saw them, that he saw him on top there walking back and forth, pondering and stuff, and looking at the stars and things, and waiting for those messengers.
Yeah.
Which he does get.
Yeah. Right.
So he does get those messengers, and he's actually borne away by is it Gwaihir? The eagle?
Yep. The Lord of the Eagles.
So actually shows up and eventually is there to give him news and things. And he rides away with him. He can only bear him so far,
right? And
he takes him to Rohan, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Yeah.
Takes him to Edoras, and he asks for a horse.
He does, and he's realizing, though, as you said, at the top there, he's realizing the trees being cut down, the wolves,
the extent of what's going on here, right?
All that stuff, and then he realizes too when he gets to Rohan that a spell sort of had been overcast on the kingdom.
Evil
there.
was already at work.
Yeah. So
and that the king of the land would not listen to my warnings.
Yeah.
He bade me take a horse and be gone, and I chose one much to my liking. We talk about Shadowfax being that horse. Aragorn even comes in, and this is really cool because this ties into his history with Edoras and Rohan. He said that he must have been a noble beast indeed, and it grieves me more than many tidings that might seem worse to learn that Sauron levies such tribute. It was not so when I last was in that land. I'm talking about them. They were feeding horses to Mordor.
Right, and actually that was Gwaihir that was telling him that, right? Was saying to,
yes,
he's asking whether the men of Rohan can still be trusted.
Yeah.
And when he sets them down, he actually says they pay a tribute of horses.
Yeah.
And they send many yearly to Mordor, or so it is said.
Yeah.
But they are not yet under the yoke. But if Saruman has become evil, as you say, then their doom cannot be long delayed.
Right.
And this is where Boromir kind of stands up and says, that can't be. They would never do that with their horses.
Yeah.
He knows the kingdom of Rohan. He knows that the people there, and they're not going to do something like that.
Yeah.
So,
in Oregon, Aragorn says, who knows? Saruman's fallen. Rohan is right next door. Who knows what you'll find when you go there next, if you do.
Right.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's move on here a little bit more. We've talked about Saruman's betrayal. And what has happened there. Now, his story does continue on, and I think he finds Shadowfax, right? So Shadowfax is the horse. He gets this, this relationship with Shadowfax, and rides him, is able to ride far, fast, and able to get back into the mix of the Black Riders pursuing Frodo and stuff. So you get that timeline. You understand that he's coming back through that way. Yeah. And, he sort of explains what happened at Weathertop and where he comes in at, Bree being a day behind them, just a day behind. And Bree,
and even at Crickhollow, he went to Crickhollow.
Went all the way back to Crickhollow. Yeah. So I think all of that is stuff that Lynn and I had said before. Like, we kind of know that. Yeah. We got subtle hints along the way that Gandalf was in these places, and that they could see the battle on Weathertop and stuff like that.
They found the G3 runes on the rocks on top of Weathertop.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think that whole piece there is pretty well covered and known by everyone. And I don't really
validating
have I don't really have a whole lot to say on that. Do you? Is there anything special about that you wanted to? He gets back to that point. He goes as far. He even explains from Weathertop where the riders were, how quick he got there, and then that he took a 14-day journey. At that point, he knew that he could not find Frodo and them in the wilderness. He was happy to hear, that Strider had taken them.
I love the interaction with Butterbur, because it just comes back to he actually, instead of how he was afraid he'd make all of his ale sour, right. Or I can't remember who said that, if it was his fear or Frodo said something. He says, may your beer be enchanted for 7 years. It's the best in the land.
Yeah, do you think it was? Do you think it actually was enchanted when Gandalf just said that?
I like to believe so.
I'd like to,
don't you?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that was a happy news to him, and I think he had the best beer in the land.
And it's just so funny how it's so unexpected. He's thinking that Gandalf's gonna kill him for letting him go off with Strider, and how that's the best news he could have heard. It's just it's so funny. Cool. It's cool that they didn't have to put that in there. I like that he put that in there. We get a little more with Butterbur. It's cool.
Yeah. Yep. So he gallops to. He talks about Crickhollow, as you said. Gallops to Weathertop.
Yep.
Like a gale. He reached it before sundown on his second day from Bree. Well, we know that we were tracking the days earlier with Strider, and they were way. He is flying on Shadowfax.
It's showing the speed of Shadowfax.
It is.
And
it
the power
really shows the speed.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing, dude.
And so he's there, and that's who they see on top having that battle. Let's see if we can find that bit where they talk about the battle fight that was happening there. Let's see. Oh, okay.
Didn't it happen during the day?
It starts to. Well, okay, so.
And that was kind of his most hope, because it was,
Yeah, he had hope in the daylight, right? So he reached it before sundown on the second day from Bree. And they were there before me. Yeah. They drew away from me, for they felt the coming of my anger, and they dared not face it while the sun was in the sky. Right? But they...
God, wouldn't this have been awesome to see?
Oh, dude.
Oh, my gosh.
Heck yeah. They closed round at night, and I was besieged on the hilltop. Yeah, and so it's there. He was hard put to it indeed. Such light and flame cannot have been seen at Weathertop since the war beacons of old. And at sunrise, he's actually able to escape, and he fled towards the north. And he says right at that point, there's not much more he can do.
Right.
He realizes that it's in Strider's hands.
Right.
Secrecy is their best friend. And
he talks about how 4 of them kind of followed him for a while too.
Yes. Yeah, they go to the.
And how in the end that helped him, because all 9 weren't there for.
Yep.
Our buddies going up on. Yeah.
Yeah, and when they're not in full force, I think that is the thing, that they are,
for sure.
that they're weaker, and that they can be scared or startled or whatnot. You're not scared, but
No, absolutely.
So
less confident.
So he goes in and he talks to Elrond. He wants to basically see if he can get aid there. But Elrond has already heard a word from Gildor, that they need help, and he had already sent out his strongest riders
all the way back then too.
Yeah. Man. So again, all stuff that we kind of know.
All these cogs of the wheel.
Yep. So now, I think these next couple paragraphs are interesting, so I'll read a little bit of them. But after he tells his story, right? So the tale was now told from first to last. Here we are. Here's the ring. You guys, you made it. Frodo, we all know what happened to Frodo. We've got that story in many meanings. And Elrond says this is grievous news concerning Saruman. We trusted him. He was deep in our counsels. This is not good. Let's see. And then he says... I
think it's interesting how he says, it is perilous to study too deeply the arts of the enemy, for good or for ill.
Yeah.
That was an interesting point.
Right, exactly.
And that he did, he tinkered too much in that, and probably felt some of that allure there, and started way back when.
Yeah. So now, of all these tales that have been told today, though, to Elrond, the tale that we have heard this day, the tale of Frodo, was most strange to me.
Yeah.
I have known few hobbits, save Bilbo here, and it seems to me that he is perhaps not so alone and singular as I had thought him to be. Yeah. The world has changed much since I was on the westward road.
Yeah.
All right. And then they talk about the Barrow-wights. We know by many names, and the Old Forest. Many tales have been told. All that now remains is but an outlier of its northern march. Time was when a squirrel could go from tree to tree, which is really cool, from its way now to the Shire, to Dunlin, west of Isengard.
We had talked about that. Remember how we had talked about how the old forest was that remnant of a much larger original forest.
Yeah. So, but I had forgotten Bombadil, if indeed that is still the name, or that is still the same that walked in the woods and hills long ago, and even then was older than the old. And they go over a couple different names here. I don't know if you want to give a stab at these names here.
Yeah, Yarwine Ben-Adar, we called him oldest and fatherless, right? But many other names he has since he has been given, since been given by other folk. Forn by the dwarves, Orald by northern men, and other names beside. He is a strange creature, but maybe I should have summoned him to this council.
Yeah. So this is our Tom Bombadil discussion. This is something that before we started the podcast, I mentioned to Lane. I was just like, they discussed Tom Bombadil at the daggone council.
Yeah, they did.
And they talk about why it's maybe good that he wasn't there, why it's good that maybe we shouldn't give the ring to him, right? So let's get into some of that.
Gandalf says flat out he wouldn't have come.
Yeah, he would not have come.
No interest.
Yeah. Nope.
Right?
Gandalf knows a tidbit about our friend Tom Bombadil.
Yes, he does.
Doesn't he go speak to Tom Bombadil on the way back? I'm talking at the end of the
very
series.
end. Your memory's better than mine.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I can't remember right. I'm trying to. That's many years ago. So let's see. Could we still send messages and get his help? Right. It seems that even he has a power. I'm sorry. It seems that he has a power.
Even over the ring.
Even over the ring.
And what Gandalf says, man. Read that.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
No. I should not put it so, said Gandalf. Say rather that the ring has no power over him.
Yes.
He is his own master, but he cannot alter the ring itself, nor bring its power over others. And now he is withdrawn into a little land within bounds that he has set. Yeah, I know. You've got that underlined, don't you? Yep.
I do.
Within bounds that he has set, though none can see them, waiting perhaps for a change of days, and he will not step beyond them. He won't. He chooses not to. It's not that he can't. He chooses not to.
Very interesting.
He set those bounds there for himself. But within those bounds, nothing seems to dismay him. Would he not take the ring and keep it there forever, harmless? No, says Gandalf. Not willingly. He might do so if all the free folk of the world begged him, but he would not understand the need. And if he were given the ring, he would soon forget it, or most likely throw it away. Such things have no hold on his mind. He would be the most unsafe guardian, and that alone is answer enough. I think they are all okay. Let me just set the book aside here for a second.
Put it down for a minute.
I think they're all a little blown away by Frodo's story of Tom Bombadil, an enigma, something that's unexplainable. We can't explain it. As much as we try to, and we try to think about what it could be, who he could be. I've heard one of the Valar, which they're not supposed to be in this place. One of the Maiar, that they also not. What is he still doing over here?
Something else
in this type of form. Something else. Something greater.
I just think it's interesting. You have all these great minds, all these ancient powers. These important people. Yeah, and they're sitting here saying, "Could we get them here? Could we call them up? Could we bring them to the council?" I mean, they
how interesting would that have been to hear him sing-songy talk?
Oh, I mean, absolutely. And Gandalf's totally right. I mean, he would have been like, okay, why was I brought here? I care not for this ring. Yeah. It's just but a trifle. I don't care. Yeah. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. So here's the thing. the Astari were Maiar, right? Mm-hmm. They were lesser than the Valar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, and so the Astari are there, you know, in this, you know, whatever, in their roles, right? And Sauron is a Maiar, right? Once was. And he's the one who's created the ring, right? And helped to kind of work its magic to help it become the One Ring. Mm-hmm. But the ring has no sway, has no power over Bombadil. Mm-hmm. It just has no whatever. It's not that Tom has power over it.
No.
It just has no effect on him.
Right.
You know, and so
who else can we say that of?
I don't know. I don't know.
Me neither.
That's what I'm saying.
Because
Mm-hmm. His power must far exceed, I think, you know,
he's got
that
no dad.
Of the ring. He
has no father.
He is fatherless. You know, and that, dude, I'm just saying that in and of itself, it's a little crazy.
Yeah, and I think about that line that Elrond says, and he says, "Man, you know, I'd forgotten about him. Maybe I should have asked if he would have been here."
Yeah,
someone as wise and as powerful as Elrond saying, like, "Man, maybe."
Well, it's so cool because he calls him a strange creature. You know, it's a strange creature, and there are times when he was kind of creepy. And he seemed a little like he wasn't
lulling them to sleep and telling them stories, and
like he's his own. He's his own thing. Yeah. I think the best thing about Tom Bombadil is that you'll never have an answer on it.
I love that you don't have an answer.
You never will.
I love that,
and it's never going to be told. And that secret goes to the grave, man.
Yep.
You know, I know that that Tolkien has shared thoughts and has shared different things and gets, you know, this way and that way with people talking about Tom Bombadil or whatever. But I mean, even his publishers had said things like, "Oh, so Tom's going to come back in the end." Mm-hmm. When they first read it, you know, and he's going to be the one to kind of like save that. You've lulled us into forgetting about Tom, and he'll come back. No, Tom is just there. He is just there, man. And I often think he's lost in his own paradise. I'll say it that way, lost in his own paradise, and about his works, and has set up these parameters and said, "No, I want to be controlled. I want to stay here," and Tom is master.
And I think
you know, so I don't want to get too far down that rabbit hole, but I think it's interesting that they talk about it because I mean Glorfindel goes on, but in any case, to send the ring to him would only postpone the day of evil. He is far away. We could not now take it back to him, you know, unguessed, unmarked by any spy. Right. Even if we could, sooner or later the Lord of the Rings would learn of its hiding place, where it is, right? And would bend all of his power towards it. Could that power be defied by Bombadil alone? I think not. And so that is interesting. You know, Glorfindel is kind of saying that Tom Bombadil doesn't have the power to stand, you know, couldn't withstand all of that power, you know? And I just think that's interesting, you know, according to Glorfindel.
Right.
According to
Glorfindel. him. Yeah. So that to you is gospel, right? Because it's Glorfindel.
Well, not necessarily, because I think a lot of Tom Bombadil.
I do too, man.
More to him than I think I want to reveal on this podcast. I think I have my own.
I think we get ourselves in
thoughts.
People might not necessarily agree.
I really
but that's the great thing about Bombadil.
And I think everyone should have their own opinion and thought on this because I really do think he is something that is unexplainable.
I think he's something beyond.
I think we're allowed to let our imaginations wander on that. So.
Yeah, I think he's all encompassing. I think he's something.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a reason. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So let's see.
Who else? Yeah. Okay.
So Galdor starts to kind of talk a little bit more, but I think Glorfindel is right. Power to defy our enemy is not in him unless such power is in the earth itself. Mm-hmm. You know, which is one of the things why people have said one of the Valar who is kind of the earth and a very earthy and you know, because each of them had their own sort of like, you know, things that they were interested in this world,
like,
you know what I mean?
Like ancient gods,
right? The seas and the airs and the earth and the, you know, that type of stuff. You know, so I think a lot of times people take that and say that's where his power lies in, perhaps, and that would be unless there's that type of power in the earth, then perhaps he could stand against him, but they think not, and yet we see that Sauron can torture and destroy the very hills. Mm-hmm. What power still remains lies with us. Okay, and he goes on to kind of talk about the different places in which, with the elves, really,
right,
is what he's saying.
Yeah, in the Havens or in Lorien or in Imladris, right?
Yeah. So,
and Elrond says, I don't have that strength, and they don't either.
Exactly.
Pretty much saying this isn't our fight.
Right, we have the strength. If there is any strength, that we have it, but we don't have enough.
Right.
They don't.
Mm-mm.
There is not enough power in this world to really, even if all united, to maybe stand against Sauron. And so that's why this what to do coming up next year with the ring is so important.
He says 2 things only remain for us to attempt: to send it over the sea or to destroy it.
Right, and they say that they won't take it across the sea.
You could take it over there, but they wouldn't accept it.
They wouldn't accept it. It would go to the sea, probably. They'd throw it in the sea. They would send it back. They'd strike you down. They would not allow men to come that way, and even the elves themselves might be turned back.
Yep.
And that's a care for Middle Earth. It's not something that they are going to worry about. So,
and Glorfindel's opinion is very interesting here. He says, "Then let us cast it into the deeps, and so make the lies of Saruman true. For it is clear now that even at the council his feet were already on a crooked path. He knew that the ring was not lost forever, but wished us to think so. For he began to lust for it for himself. Yet oft in lies truth is hidden. In the sea it would be safe."
Yeah. Well, and here's one of the things. That would probably be the last thing that Saruman would think they would do.
Yeah.
Was to go back to his original lie and make it true, and that it is in the sea, what I mean, type of thing, and it would be safe for a while,
right?
Not forever.
That's what Gandalf says.
Yeah.
And then we also, that might be the last thing Saruman would assume or would guess they would do. And it's amazing how what they end up doing is the last thing that Sauron would expect them to do.
Yeah.
What they end up deciding is like the last thing he would ever expect.
Yeah. Yep. You're right. Now, so let's see. We go on just a little bit more here talking about the different options. They talk about how the road to the sea would be perilous, and that would be
they're expecting west,
dangerous, right? Yeah. And now Boromir actually kind of comes forward and says, "Why not use it though? Is there not Gondor wanes, you say, but Gondor stands, and even the end of its strength is still very strong." And so he's very proud to be from Gondor and has a lot of pride in men and believes that they are good and that we can still do good in the world. And I like him for that. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
And so let's see. Where does he start to kind of talk about that? They mentioned that Glorfindel has already declared, there's 2 paths here: hide the ring forever, or to unmake it. But both are beyond our power. Who will read this riddle for us? None here can do so. So this is before we get to Boromir's request, actually. Elrond says, "None here can do so. At least none can foresee what will come to pass if we take this road or that. But it seems to me now clear which is the road that we must take. The westward road seems easiest, therefore it must be shunned. It will be watched. Too often the elves have fled that way. Now at this last, we must take a hard road, a road unforeseen. There lies our hope, if hope to be." Yeah. So he says, to walk into peril to Mordor, we must send the ring to the fire.
How many times does silence fall too?
Yeah.
It's almost like at every big break here, silence. Just people are just like, "Oh my gosh!" Dude.
There's a seriousness. Yeah. It's very.
And I love this. Frodo, even at that fair house, he's looking out upon a sunlit valley filled with the noise of clear waters. Felt a dead darkness in his heart. Boromir stood, and Frodo looked at him. He was fingering his great horn and frowning. At length he spoke. Yeah. Is this when?
This is when he comes in and says, I don't understand all of this. Even though he's a traitor, did he not have a glimpse of wisdom? Why can we not, use the ring and think that the great ring has come into our hands to serve us in this very hour of need, wielding it for the free lords, of the free may surely defeat the enemy. He kind of just goes on to, as we said, talk about what we can do with it. Elrond says, we cannot use the ruling ring. And let's see, that we now know too well. It belongs to Sauron and was made by him alone and is altogether evil. Its strength, Boromir, is too great for anyone to wield at will, save only those who have already a great power of their own. But for them it holds an even deadlier peril. The very desire of it corrupts the heart. Consider Saruman. If any of the wise should, with this ring, overthrow the Lord of Mordor, using his own arts, he would then set himself on Sauron's throne, and yet another Dark Lord would appear. And so that's the reason why that it has to be destroyed. For nothing is evil in the beginning. Even Sauron was not so. So I fear to take the ring to hide it. I will not take the ring to wield it.
Nor I.
Gandalf. Yeah. And so he's doubtful,
but he says, so be it.
Yeah, he does.
He's not as... it almost kind of seems like to me it's just like an earnest request. Like, why don't we do this?
Yeah, I know you said I heard what you said.
Right.
Let's just hear. I think it's fine for Boromir to put that forward one more time.
Why not ask that question
and to hear what the wise say? And the wise gave a good answer.
Yes, they did. And he's satisfied with that.
He's satisfied. And he says, "Then we'll trust in the weapons that we have."
Exactly.
And
I love. I enjoy Boromir in the films, but I like. Boromir, I love. He's so much more complex. There's so much more to him.
Yeah.
He's not such a flat character.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's neat, too. They talk about, Boromir's kind of talking about, let's use the sword that was broken. Maybe that will stem the tide. And Aragorn says, who can tell? Yeah. But we will put it to the test one day.
Yeah, baby.
And
woo!
Yeah. So, although we do not ask for aid, we need it. It would comfort us to know the others fought. Also, with all the means that they had, then be comforted, Elrond says. There are other powers in the realms that you know not of. They are hidden from you, and they're all basically working together to fight Mordor.
Yep.
So, let's see. They start talking about the dwarves a little bit and the powers, and whether Balin had found the ring and just the uniting that needs to happen there. With the dwarves, they need to resist as well. They need to resist the desire that's happening in their own hearts.
And also talking about the differences in the rings a little bit too. The differences between the dwarven rings and then also the rings that the elves, the three, right? That they are not made by Sauron, nor did he ever touch them.
Yeah.
But of them it is not permitted to speak. So much only in this hour of doubt I may say now they are not idle, but they are not made as weapons of war or conquest. That is not their power.
Yeah. Yep. Well, yeah, he does. He talks. Their purpose was for healing and for knowledge and understanding, and they can't. Even if the One Ring is destroyed, right? They don't know if those rings were a part of that. Is there's some magic or spell there that would make them not work?
Yeah.
If that's not the case, then perhaps they would use them. Yeah. And they would.
Well, and it's kind of interesting. That's sort of what they're being used for now.
Yeah.
Right. They're being made for understanding and planning. Yeah. This quest. So they're doing what they were meant to do.
And that was Gloin who was asking that question. Who actually was asking, what can we do? Why can't there's still the three rings? Yeah. Although the seven, are kind of lost to the dwarves, the 9 have been consumed, but the 3, why can't we use those? And so, he gives a good Elrond gives a good answer and kind of explains, what they can and can't do. So, let's see here. Oh, okay. Actually, did you read this part about Glorfindel, his response to what Gloin had said? You did?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, no, I didn't read it on here. No.
Oh, okay. Just kind of talking about, so saying that they don't really know for certain. Elrond's still kind of explaining with the 3 rings what would happen. It would be better if the 3 rings had never been. That is his purpose. And then Gloin goes on to say, but what then would happen if the ruling ring were destroyed, as you counsel? So, Elrond says, we know not for certain. Some hope that the 3 rings which Sauron had never touched would come free, and the rulers might heal the hurts of the world, as I just mentioned. Now Glorfindel says, yet all the elves are willing to endure this this chance. So there's a chance that that once the One Ring is gone, that the 3 will fail.
Yeah,
and they're willing to sacrifice their rings to get this done.
Yep.
So, all right. Let's see here. I think we're getting close to the end of the council
We are,
here.
really. And so, Aristor just says, "Thus we return once more to the destroying of the ring, and yet we come no nearer. What strength have we for the finding of the fire in which it was made? That is the path of despair, of folly, I would say, if the long wisdom of Elrond did not forbid me." So obviously he's saying, we know what we have to do. How are we going to do it?
Yeah.
Who's going to go? How are we going to get there?
And at this point, you've got two of my favorite characters who pop up, and one of my favorite stands up and says, very well, Master Elrond.
I get your hints.
Say no more. It's plain enough what you're pointing at. Bilbo, the silly hobbit, started this affair, and Bilbo had better finish it or himself.
Yeah.
himself. Yeah, this is kind of funny.
Good spot for comic relief, too.
I mean, honestly, though, I think he's being serious.
Yeah.
And
actually, we talked about this. There's double meaning there, isn't there?
Right, yeah.
He's lightening the mood, but also he's saying, sure. Yeah, I'll take it if you need me to.
He sees that he sees that he is a ring bearer. Mm-hmm. And I think he has learned that the ring has less of an influence. And they've already pointed out the hobbits are stronger than they realize. There's a willpower there that far exceeds that of men.
Yeah.
And maybe elves.
Yeah.
In some regards. And
in different ways. You're right. I love how Boromir looked in surprise, but the laughter died on his lips when he saw that all the others regarded the old hobbit with grave respect.
Yes.
Only glowing smiled, but his smile came from old memories.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool, man. Because, that's so cool.
Yeah, this is one. I mean, Bilbo is like a big deal, guys. I don't know if I've said it enough, but Bilbo's a big deal.
And that shows how isolated Boromir has been.
Yes.
Right? All these other races and these high powers know of Bilbo and hold him in high regard. He's like, what the? Who's this hobbit?
Here's the thing. With Gondor, they're constantly at war.
They're always fighting.
They're always fighting.
Heads
I don't think
down.
they have time to look north or to look west and things.
No.
So, but anyways, Gandalf kind of sets him straight and says, "It's not your task is over, friend.
Yeah.
The ring has passed on to Frodo." And it would actually, and there's a lot of wisdom in what Gandalf says. And if you think about it, for him to take the ring from Frodo, how difficult was it for Bilbo to give it up?
Oh yeah.
And we said that he is he gives it up willingly
right.
and all of this, and that is what Gandalf said makes all the difference
mm-hmm.
that he did it, and so that he had that power to turn it over.
Yeah.
Could Frodo do that? I don't know.
Well,
and the longer the ring is with him, and it hasn't been with him as long as it's been with Bilbo.
No.
But it's something. So,
and it's interesting to see, so Bilbo had it longer, but it's almost, you can kind of see, especially what Frodo's about to get into too, and where he's been.
Yeah.
It's been a little more concentrated, I guess.
Yeah.
What he's had to encounter. But I just thought of this. I've thought about it before, but it just hit me all of a sudden now. Like you're talking about how that exchange was the difference, and how every other time the ring has changed hands with violence.
Yeah. Yep. It is. Really.
So interesting.
Well, so. Another thing, could Frodo have done it in a time of peace when there was when the dark power wasn't seeking it?
Right, sure.
I just kind of think maybe he could have, but he's in a time where basically there's a lot of the Dark Lord is seeking the ring.
Yeah.
So I think also the ring itself is kind of like, working against whoever the ring bearer is. Mm-hmm. It might not have been working as much against Bilbo as it is with Frodo now. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I think that could be a big part there.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Okay. So, So,
need some dinner, man.
Yeah, it's time for dinner.
Missed the meal.
That's for sure. Actually, it really is dinner time here. So
I know, and I feel like we have missed lunch.
Yeah, we have.
Once again.
Again, yes.
The book infiltrating our lives. My
does.
Gosh.
So, they're back to the question. Who are they to be? The messengers who are sent with the ring. Let's see. How do we get into that? Did I miss that part? Oh no, you moved on to lunch, right?
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Okay,
yeah.
No, that's fine. So they're kind of just sitting there. No one is speaking. Frodo's glancing at all the different faces. They were not turned up. The council sat with the downcast eyes. Gandalf basically said that Bilbo can't take the ring. And then who is going to take it? Who will go with the ring to destroy it? And no one speaks. And at last, with an effort, he spoke and wondered to hear his own words, as if others will be using his
some other
some other
will.
Oh, some other will.
Was
Yeah,
using his small voice.
Good. Yep.
Yeah.
I will take the ring, he said, though I do not know the way.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, think about times. I can remember times, obviously not as momentous as this occasion, but like I've said something and I've surprised myself. Like, oh, did I just say that?
Yeah.
Were those my words? Yeah, like this greater cause that will that it didn't even Gildor talk about. That smiled, smiling upon their face. That that they ran across the elves when they did way back.
Yes.
And through his company, and that same power here.
Yeah.
Speaking through him, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Unreal.
Now, what's interesting is Elrond's response to he would not have asked this of Frodo.
Yeah.
But since he has said what he said, he sees great wisdom. And if I understand right all that I've heard, I think that this task is appointed for you, Frodo. Mm-hmm. And that if you do not find a way, no one will.
Right.
This is the hour of the Shire folk. When they arise from their quiet fields to shake the towers and the councils of the great. Mm-hmm. So just super powerful.
Yeah.
Stuff here. It's a heavy burden, so heavy that none could lay it on another. Very true. Mm-hmm. And actually, that's what Frodo says the whole way here with his friends. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the realization that creeps on him is that I can't ask anybody else to do this. Yeah. And he sees that Bilbo was willing to step up and things. And that his time is over and the ring is passed to him. He tried to hand it to Aragorn, as Isildur's bane, but that's not his.
Right.
And
this is that point you talked about earlier too. He says, Elrond continues on and says, and though all the mighty elf friends of old, Hador and Húrin and Túrin and Beren himself were assembled together, your seat should be among them.
That's huge.
And then who jumps in here?
Yeah, Sam.
Yeah.
But don't send him off alone, surely, master. He's unable to contain himself, right? No, indeed. You at least shall go with him. It's hardly possible to separate you from him, even when he is summoned to a secret council, and you are not.
A nice pickle we've landed ourselves in, Mr. Frodo.
Yeah. So, neat. They've decided Frodo is going to take the ring, and we need to destroy it.
And Sam's going with him.
That's all we know.
Yeah.
That is all we know right now, friends.
So very different from the film, right? The Fellowship has decided at that council, and it's kind of a voluntary thing, and we'll see how that's different here in the book. So
absolutely awesome. Thank you for your patience, guys. With us getting through that very long chapter, and it's a huge point. It's a huge jumping point. For us going forward, we got some history, some context, and now we'll get back into just trudging along. And those the things that we brought up here, Moria and the other kingdoms and stuff, they will come up again. These names will keep coming up. So it's important that we talk about them. Yeah. So all right, let's move on to we've our cool connections are laid in there.
Self-contained.
Time to get to the Bywater Post, my friend.
Oh my! It snowed under. As I'm going to let you. How many do we have to share today?
I think we just got this one to share because we're going to do our draft.
Okay.
We have a decent sized draft, so I think we're just going to share one today, and then we'll get a couple next time.
Like it.
Is it Shona?
Shona.
Okay. So this is from Shona. As in Lane, thank you so much for doing this podcast. I have just recently discovered it, and I'm excited to have a fellowship with me as I journey through this series again.
That's right, you do.
Yeah.
Yep.
My mom instilled a great love for the books in myself and my siblings growing up, and I remember the first time she read these to us. I have been wanting to reread them for a while, and am finally making time to get back into them. I honestly feel like a kid again as I dig back into them while burying my nose into my book during lunch breaks or curling up in my living room as soon as I'm home.
Oh, that's great, man.
That is awesome. It is actually really cool. As far as the podcast, I have an hour commute each way to work, so you guys have been making me laugh, ponder, and genuinely look forward to my drives each day. That's awesome.
Love it.
I also in turn have been listening to, I hadn't read this at a time. Wow. Been listening to Rebel Watch, Swish and Flick due to your plugs for those.
Nice.
Well, it's good to hear somebody's going from us to Swish and Flick. That's great.
That is.
I think that happens more than people realize.
They can start to expect that. Yeah. Just kidding. Yeah.
Oh, man.
No, but those are two excellent podcasts. I enjoy those two myself.
Well, me too. Nerdom runs deep in my family, and we're proud of it. Thanks again, for helping to create this great community. Keep it up. From my own eastern woods of Mirkwood in Massachusetts to your Shire in Ohio.
Look, you see what's happening, us.
Yes.
You see what's going on
I
here.
know.
It's just amazing. I actually have one I want to read too.
Okay.
Real quick. Sorry. It's a message we got in Instagram. It's from Johan Bundelman. He says, guys, I don't know how to thank you. Your podcast is filling in a space for me, which has always been empty. I never had people to talk about Tolkien and Lord of the Rings, etc. To listen to you now is really satisfying. I'm going through through your podcast in a marathon. It is absolutely amazing. Keep the spirits up. Best wishes and greetings from Germany.
Wow.
How cool is that?
Yeah.
So Johan, that's amazing. We were talking about that too, actually, how it's we're glad that we can bring fans of Tolkien and of Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit and all things Middle Earth together to be able to talk, who may have never had that before, may have never had that community. And also how sad it is, man, that there are places where, people who've not had that up until now.
Yeah.
You see Goldberry just dance through the
Can I just tell you guys something? Goldberry just danced through the podcast. I just want you to know, because you can't always see what's happening.
For those of you
here.
not watching.
You can't always see what's happening here. Sometimes you can.
For those of you not watching.
If you have a Palantir. All right?
Oh,
but
where's ours?
She just danced through here with a box of pretzels, cheese-filled pretzels, and a
Peanut
bottle
butter.
of wine.
Yeah, peanut butter filled pretzels.
Okay, cool.
No cheese in this house.
All right, my bad.
Just kidding.
Anyways, they
We
look
love dairy.
delicious. We're waiting for
she's
dinner.
having a good time. Right.
We're trying to get to dinner.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. No. Anyway, I think that's.
I'm thankful for the
Yeah. And
that companionship and fellowship to talk about the books too.
and better late than never. So it's.
Yeah.
I'm glad it's happening now. So excellent. Thank you for that message. Mm-hmm. All right, it's time for ding 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 round 2 of the Fellowship of the Ring Draft of Doom 2018. So last time, if we go to our draft board, Ezra, of course. Well, let's review first, okay? So it is a draft for a fellowship between the Wizards and Team New Zealand.
Yep.
You can pick up to 9 members, 1 designated ring bearer, and 1 optional if you want. You don't have to. Beast of Burden to help you along your way.
Yeah.
Ezra won
The
coin toss. He got to have the first overall pick. That was Frodo Baggins, who he nominated as his, nominated as his ring bearer.
Ring bearer.
All right. Mm-hmm. Followed by my first pick, who was Aragorn. Ezra followed that with Gandalf the Grey. I paired that with Samwise Gamgee, who is my ring bearer. Third overall pick, or the third pick for Ez was Gimli. Third pick for me was Arwen. Fourth pick for gosh, I can't get your name
It's cool,
right,
man.
dude.
It's cool. It's Ezra.
This guy
Nice to
over
meet-
here
Nice to
picked
meet you.
Legolas fourth, and my fourth pick was Dwalin. So
Now,
some pretty
again,
stellar lineups
And recap,
forming up
we're
here.
picking our fellowships. We're picking our fellowships here.
Yes.
And so once they're off the board, and I can't pick them anymore.
Right.
So I can't have Aragorn, Samwise, Arwen, or Dwalin.
So Ezra is losing, is what he's telling
No, I don't
you.
think so. We're going to let you decide that. We're going to have a poll, and you decide who won
plug.
here, who has the best fellowship.
All right, so the fifth pick going to Ezra. His
moi.
fifth pick is going to be who?
Well, you asked me too quickly here, my friend.
Oh.
Let's see. Wow, I got my friendship there, which I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, pretty easy. Pippin.
Okay.
Yep, I want Pippin.
Your favorite Hobbit?
My favorite Hobbit now.
That's right, baby.
Let me tell you.
Okay, so you're
Really?
adding Pippin to your fellowship. Why?
Yeah.
I think that's a strong fifth pick, honestly.
It is. I just think it's
Need a little humor, people of intelligence.
so one thing that I think Frodo needed going forward was his Samwise. You've taken my Samwise, and I think Sam is a great ring bearer, and it's very impressive you picked him.
Thank you.
But we will need a companion to go with Frodo, and I think Pippin or Merry, could have fit that role and could have helped him, share the load.
Okay.
Okay.
Excellent.
Maybe not as well as Sam, but it is what it is. I got to do what I can with what I have.
Yeah, you
So,
do. That's pretty good. That's excellent.
Yeah.
I respect that choice. I think it's an excellent choice.
Okay. What do you got?
My fifth choice is not so easy.
No, it's not. Tough.
Actually, my fifth choice I didn't put on here.
Oh boy.
No, I'm not going to do him.
Please don't.
All right.
Well, you can if you want to.
I'm gonna stir it up.
Are you kidding me?
Stirring it up.
Seriously?
Boom. I'm stirring it up.
You just lost.
I just picked with my 5th pick, Tom Bombadil.
You just lost.
Tom Bombadil, because you need people on this quest, my friend, that the ring has no power over.
Wow.
Great with song, cheers you up, even helps you fall asleep at night. He's better than NyQuil. I'm going with Tom Bombadil.
Okay.
Boom. I think you've lost, man.
We'll let the
he doesn't have a daddy so old. I mean, come on.
We'll let the people decide here.
I think so. We
So-
don't know, and also, can I let you know something? We don't know what all Tom Bombadil is capable of.
Right.
A powerful being, strange, yes, but some would call Gandalf the Grey strange in the same stroke.
Yeah.
So your number 6 pick, my friend. Who are you going for here?
Faramir. Yeah, I think I need him because I need someone.
Wow.
Yeah, just to be clear, Boromir is actually still on the board, and I passed him over. So
are you telling us that?
I think the
Are
dream.
you in favor of, do you think it would have been a better fellowship? This is getting way off topic here.
I think
if Faramir had come instead of Boromir like was originally planned.
I love Boromir. Faramir, I believe, would have been sent, but
what would have happened to the fellowship?
It was their father who I
Right.
think really says, no, it just gets kind of like, I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
There's a lot to that whole dynamic and relationship, but I think it would have added a lot to the fellowship.
Do you think it would have broken in the same way? Well, definitely
No,
not
I
the
don't
same way.
I don't think it would have broken at that
all.
time. I actually
Would it have broken
think-
at all?
Would it have broken at some point? But it wouldn't have been because of Faramir or whatever. It's just not. It could have been many different things. Because now I have, Legolas and Gimli and Gandalf and stuff. So and Pippin and things. So it would be different. Very different.
Excellent. I like it. Okay, let me see here. Number 5 pick, number 6 pick.
6.
So many good people still on the
So
board
many.
here.
I know. What
I need a wizard in my company. I need a little bit of magic.
No way.
Radagast the Brown, welcome to Team New Zealand.
No way.
Bingo, my friend.
I am smoking you right now.
You didn't think I was going to pick him.
I didn't think you were gonna pick him.
wanted to pick him up. You thought you could ride until pick 8 or 9 to pick him up.
I actually think a fellowship needs to be balanced. I am shocked that you picked him. Shocked.
Because my fellowship wasn't balanced? Is that what you're saying?
I'm just shocked.
I'll tell you why I'm going to pick Radagast the Brown. It's because I, too, love birds. I am fascinated by birds. I think they're one of the most amazing, incredible creatures on this planet. They're all amazing. But birds I've always been drawn to. They fascinate me. A lot of people have a phobia of birds. I'm not scared of them. I got a bird in my house right now, and I would want to tenderly help it out of my house and get it back to where it needed to be. Not so with bats, my friend. Not so with mice. Not so with a lot of other creatures, all right? But birds, I love birds.
Okay.
Is that enough for you?
Yeah. Boy, you've left this wide open for me.
Wide open.
Okay.
This looks,
1, 2,
honestly,
3,
I'm looking
4,
at your
5,
fellowship
6.
here. It kind of looks like what happened in the movie, my friend.
6, you ready?
Who is it? Mary?
Boromir.
Whoa.
You left him up there.
I didn't want him.
Him up there.
I don't want him
Yeah, I do.
on my journey.
You know what? I do.
And you think Faramir and Boromir are going to get together?
Get
along together?
Together. These
They would
brothers
strengthen each other.
They would strengthen one another.
I can get behind that.
And I think it's the idea that them together, they should have been sent together.
Okay.
But maybe not sent together, but included. I think there should have been a reaching out to, I just think he's better with his brother. And since he's still there, I think he's, definitely a huge asset. So
I like that.
representing, men.
That's right. Men of the South. I like that. Okay. Wow. This is just getting
Wild.
It's getting difficult. I thought the first few picks would be hard. It's these last ones. You want to make sure you made the right choice.
Yep.
So I've got Aragorn, Samwise Gamgee, who's my ring bearer, Arwen Udamiel, Dwalin, Tom Bombadil, Radagast the Brown. I almost have too much power. And I need to step back. I need to get someone rooted to the earth. I need to get someone who is strong. I need to get someone who is humble and meek. I'm recruiting Farmer Maggot.
Wow.
Step away from your crops for a second,
serious?
old man. You're coming on a journey with us.
Wow.
Farmer Maggot.
That's crazy, dude. This is crazy. You've lost. Okay, it's fine.
I'm sorry?
Okay, so how many do you have?
What
You
a
have
lack of
1,
imagination.
2, 3, 4,
That was
5,
7.
6, 7. And I have 7 as well. So I'm going for my 8th pick.
Right. That's usually how it works.
Is that how it works? Okay.
Here we go. Who else was Mary? Am I going with Mary?
No. I've been looking at this for a while.
Are you going to get off the board here a little bit?
I'm surprised, and I need Glorfindel.
Okay, there you go. I think people are disappointed he wasn't your number 1 pick, but I'm glad Glorfindel's getting in there for you. Why?
Well, I think what it is, I think from for the position of the council here, as Elrond and these other high elves are looking at this, you piece together what you can, right? And if there's room left over, you can send someone like Glorfindel and things like that. But the hobbits were important. We needed the hobbits. So since some of the hobbits are, you took Sam and things, you've still left one up there for me. I'll probably take him. Unless you decide to take him, I'm going to take the hobbits. But
why would you tell me that before I have my next pick?
I'm just saying, I might.
I would do it out of spite. You will.
I might be telling you that just to throw you off.
Yeah.
I hope you do take him out of spite.
I know how you think. I don't want him.
So there's also another hobbit up there I can take.
I don't want him.
Try me.
I know that without this individual, my task isn't getting... It's not getting completed.
Which one?
This quest will not be finished without my 8th pick, Gollum Smeagol.
In the Fellowship?
Yes. I need him in my Fellowship.
So treat him like the elves did in Mirkwood and try to have him sit on the council and hear all of this and say, listen here, you're going to be a part of our... It's
Do you remember what happened, my friend?
Yeah.
When Smeagol was trusted, when Smeagol was treated with kindness and
yes,
respect.
I do.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. That's what you're saying is bring him to the council, let him hear all of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has a tale to tell too. We didn't hear his tale.
Right.
Uh-huh.
No, not a bad idea.
Thank you.
I
win.
Shocking.
I won.
But it's not a bad idea.
It's shocking, but not a bad idea. All right, your final pick, dude. I mean, this says a lot about you.
My final pick.
Goldberry. No.
My final pick.
Sarah
here.
Smith.
Yeah, let me think here. This is a tough one. This is really tough. I'm just looking over the list one last time here.
Do you want to do a trade?
No, I think I know who I want. I do want Mary. I'll take Mary.
Okay. Mary Brandybuck.
I just can't believe you left that many players on the board.
What a carbon copy of the original. Okay, I'm going for my 9th pick here.
Mm-hmm. What are you going to do?
Man. This is hard, guys. This is really very difficult.
Harder than you
for
would
me.
think. Harder than you would think.
Okay. Made my decision. Boom. They might need a disguise along the way. They might need to change their appearance. They might need to become more than they are now. My 9th pick is going to Tammy Lane.
I knew you were going to do something.
Tammy Lane is the 9th member of my Fellowship.
I knew it.
All right, so before we pick you want to pick our Beast of Burden first, I guess?
Yeah, for me, I mean, I just need a pony.
So you're going with Bill.
Yeah, I don't know why I wouldn't.
That's the only pick you made that I wanted.
I just want Bill. That's all I need.
Okay, so I'm going to propose a pick, and I don't know if that'll be allowed or not. I'm going to say on consult because he can't be a Beast of Burden. He would be able to come and go as he wanted.
Okay.
I want Gwaihir.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, Gwaihir on consult, everyone.
He does.
I know
he
that
does bear them,
right.
In times
I know that
of great need.
He's not one to be.
Yeah.
You don't just say, "Hey, pick me up here, Gwaihir."
Right.
He is his own individual, but I'm putting him on consult. Okay, so guys, the 2018 Draft of Doom has been completed. I'm going to go ahead and read. You want to read your team?
Yes.
The Wizards?
So for the Wizards, we have Frodo Baggins, the Ring Bearer, Gandalf the Grey, Gimli, son of Gloin, Legolas Greenleaf, Pippin, Faramir, Boromir, Glorfindel, Mary Brandybuck, Bill the Pony.
Okay, so I was razzing you a little bit about that being almost exactly the fellowship that goes on in both the book and the film. Mm-hmm. But you know what? As you read through that and I looked at it, those are some really small changes that make a totally different fellowship.
Yeah.
And I respect you for that. You might get my vote.
Thanks, man.
Yes?
Thanks.
So for Team New Zealand, you've got Aragorn, Samwise Gamgee, who is my ring bearer, Arwen, Dwalin, Tom Bombadil, Radagast the Brown, Farmer Maggot, Gollum, Smeagol. Hopefully more Smeagol than Gollum. And then my 9th pick, who is Tammy Lane. And then Gwaihir is my consult Beast of Burden.
Let me just say, that is the most bizarre, crazy fellowship assembled I've ever seen.
Hey, as you know what they said about taking the ring right into Mordor?
Yeah.
Bizarre. Crazy.
I know.
Stupid.
I'm just saying.
Unexpected.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. The people will decide.
Well, it sounds like you got a tone there, man. It sounds like you got a tone towards my fellowship.
No,
okay?
I don't.
Okay.
I'm surprised.
I think that
would
this
love
is
to
a diverse group. I think it's one of the most diverse groups you've ever
I
seen.
say the strongest thing that you did is Samwise as your ring bearer. That was huge.
Oh, I've got a lot of strong things I did. I mean, that might be the
I'm
only
just
one
saying that's
you
the
see.
strongest one.
Pairing Aragorn and Arwen together, bringing Dwalin, a dwarf hero from the past who's seen adversity and lived through it, bringing on Tom Bombadil, who is oldest and fatherless, to balance them all out, and also to show them that, you know what, the ring's not such a big deal, guys. Let's take it easy. Let's have a song and a nap, okay? Radagast the Brown.
Oh, sure. That's who I want on my quest.
Radagast the Brown.
Not taking the ring seriously.
Radagast the Brown, who also, I might have has the ear of my beast consult.
Sure.
So
that was a good pairing. That was a good pairing.
Thank you.
Okay.
And then having Farmer Maggot along, another Hobbit who's good salt of the earth, and of course Smeagol and unfortunately Gollum, who's going to help get the job done in the end anyway.
Yeah.
I think I'm set up for success. So
cool. I like
2018 champs.
I like it.
That was fun, man.
That was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun.
Was a lot of fun. Okay.
All right.
Well, guys, thanks so much again for listening. It's time to share the load. Head on over to patreon.com/UpTalkingTolkien. We've got some cool stuff there for you. We've mentioned the T-shirts, the exclusive podcast, some of Lane's artwork coming out in swag bags every 6 months, things like that. It helps us out. We have goals on there, axe throwing competition, archery, possibly traveling to sea. We're trying to find the fellowship. We're trying to get to, I don't know if we'll be able to make it to all of the 9 original members of the fellowship, but we'd like to go to cons and Comic Cons and try to run across some of these people. So that would help us achieve that goal, and just lots of different things that we want to do. So we want to give it back to you. So
that's right.
All right. I think it's time for our weekly
well wishes, formerly Fortnite farewells. We want to thank you for stepping off the road with us. Our next episode, we'll be digging into Chapter 15 or Chapter 3 of Book 2, The Ring Goes South.
Mm-hmm. If you like our podcast, don't forget to subscribe, like us, write a review, and let me pause for a second. Writing a review is a big deal, and it does really help the podcast. So if you guys could go do that. If you're new listeners, and you want to go write a review on iTunes, it really does help. So thank you very much to those of you who have. Or leave a comment or send us a Shadowfax.
We'll see you in a week.
Man,
I just can't get over saying a fortnight. And remember, Frodo lives.